Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. Episode 133, Special Casual Show. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whelan, Dr. George on the CGS forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, Sensei of the Whatnot Segulin. On this episode, Jim and I are going to have a conversation with Chad Burdette, unknown fanboy from the forums, and we are going to be chatting about Ambush Bug Year None, 1 and 2. We have a nice little discussion about that, and we also chat about some of the other books that Chad's reading at the moment and have a nice little kind of casual comic book discussion there. We also have about an hour-long conversation with J.D. Alvarez. We met him at the CGS Super Show, and we wanted to talk about that convention, not only the CGS Super Show and how cool that was, but also just how the convention experience has changed due to the internet and forums and the community that we're developing there. And hopefully kind of encourage people, if you haven't gone to a con or if you haven't been to a con in a long time, to kind of use those internet forums as resources to kind of meet people and hook up and do the community thing. For me, my first con experiences were really going by myself. I went to my first Wizard World Chicago by myself. And I flew out there, I had a wonderful time, but there was something missing. And it really is now, it's so nice to be able to go to cons and just have so many people that we can talk to, that hang out with, and things like that. And it's not just because we're podcasters, it's just because we're in forum communities. And cons now are more of a community experience. And it is really great to have that kind of interaction with fans and friends and creators and just everybody. And we all kind of have that camaraderie and that kind of experience together. So that was something that I think is a unique thing that came out of the whole conversation that I hope will energize all of you to have that experience with us. This is kind of a casual episode for us because when we did our last recording, I realized that we really had about 2 hours more footage than we really should have for any particular episode. And if you remember Jim on the last episode, episode 132, Jim was mentioning that he's behind on a lot of his reading. So I'm like, I'd really like to set aside some time where we can just have a little bit of a breather, a little catch-up point to kind of recharge and regroup and get ready for the next batch of episodes for Raging Bullets. And this offered a unique opportunity to be able to do that with some episode content that was pretty timely. So that's what this is. This is a special episode that's going to give Jim and myself a break, get you guys an episode back that's a little bit earlier than a week between our last release, and we'll do the same thing with the next release. We'll be back with a regular episode that we're going to be recording for early next week at some point. It'll be probably Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to shoot for Monday, but it'll be Tuesday at the latest with our next full-blown episode. But this kind of gives us that unique opportunity for that. Besides those two conversations, I have some iRiver footage that Jim and I used, and I was trying to think about where can I fit this in on any particular show. And I'm going to put that on this episode. It's actually a kind of a log of our insane journey to Pittsburgh for the CGS Super Show. And it's not comic book related at all. It's on the blooper reel at the end of the show. So for anybody that's like, hey, I don't want to mess with any of that stuff, you can kind of jump off and abandon and just kind of, go on your merry way. But this is for people who just kind of want to have a humorous drive with us, because that's what it was. It was basically we were recording it while we were driving. And, I like to have a little fun with Jim, as anybody who's been listening to the show knows that, and I certainly did that quite a bit when we were on our trip to Pittsburgh. So this is kind of a fun, casual episode, something a little bit more casual. I want to thank Chad Burdette and J.D. Alvarez for joining us for these two recordings and giving us this opportunity to have kind of a little bit of a breather, but to then still give you guys something that's a little bit different than our normal shows, but hopefully something that you'll enjoy. And we definitely welcome your comments on this one. Like I said, it's definitely not one of our regular episodes, but I hope there's some content in here that you'll enjoy. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. We are sponsored, as always, by DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. And we talk a lot about InStockTrades.com in these little segments over there, but it's definitely your source for your trades and collected editions that you're looking for. So if you're looking for discounts on that, definitely check out InStockTrades.com. And for your pre-order needs, if you aren't shopping DCBService.com, do yourself a favor. Just take a look at the website and take a look at the discounts and the savings that you can get on your comics. Because for me, it's giving me an opportunity to read a lot more comics than I would normally be able to. And I thank DCB Service for doing that. They're wonderful people. They were at the CGS Super Show. They're going to be up at the Screaming Tiki Con. So I'm doing kind of a casual ad on this one because this really is kind of an off episode for us. But definitely I can't Cameron Merkler, who is running DCB Service, just such a wonderful guy. And I've sent multiple emails to DCB Service, making changes to orders and things like that throughout the time. And the staff over there is just so nice. They get back to me right away with any questions that I have. And it's really, I've had wonderful experiences with them. So it's something that I'm proud to geek out of because I am a customer. And it's wonderful to be able to chat about their service and what it's done for me on this show. So I really thank them for that. We have a show voicemail line now, Jim. Please feel free to send us your thoughts on DC Comics, news, characters, anything that goes through your mind during the course of the week. Found a interesting tidbit that you want to chat about, read a book that you're kind of like excited about. Call 1-440-388-4434. That's 1-440-388-4434. Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth in plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
So let me get you right into the segments, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode for you.
You filthy criminals.
I do have to say, you two do look cozy over there, though.
And then when we were in the Gypsy Cafe, man, there was like four of us huddled around one mic, and Sean's by himself.
But, it's all about my comfort.
Right, I noticed that. It is always about your comfort.
See, it's funny, we're talking about my comfort. I'm worried right now, because you two are a fire hazard.
Well, hey,
you're like blocking the door on the way out, I could probably make it through the window, but I got to push the air conditioner out to get through there, so I don't know. Anyway, joining us for Ambush Bug Year None number 1 and 2 is our good longtime friend, Chad Burdette. This one's plotted and penciled by Keith Giffen, dialogued by Robert Loren Fleming, inked by Al Milgram, colored by Guy Major, lettered by Pat Brousseau, edited by Jan Jones, and assistant edited by Stephanie Buscema. And Chad, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I don't know why we haven't done this sooner. You've been over, multiple times before, and I'm like, well, duh, like, why don't we just record when you're...
And this time I wasn't accused of selling anything.
Yeah, my wife wouldn't let him in last time. Doesn't help that you look like a vagrant, Chad, but...
Well, when you're holding a box.
Yeah, but then again, we do too, so it's like, it's a wonder that she lets me in the house half the time. This is actually an interesting book to talk about, because we were going to originally do DC Decisions, which Jim and I will do next week, but we were trying to find something that would be interesting that we haven't done before that we could do with you when you came over. And because Decisions isn't released till next week, we switched to Ambush Bug, which I'm glad, actually, because when I was trying to do my notes for this one, what a unique read to try and do notes on.
Exactly. I think it gave me a headache, and I had to stop a few times, have a drink.
Yeah.
And I love the book.
God, yeah.
But it's like, it's a book that deliberately is supposed to, because of the nature of the character, it has a logical flow to it, but he kind of goes everywhere and anywhere very quickly, and there's so many quick sight gags and things like that. You're right.
And it's, kind of hard to tell, what's happening when, and... what time period it actually is in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's kind of a weird and / appropriate that we go from this more serious book of Decisions to Ambush Bug. Well, that's a nice segue.
Well, at least everybody won't get to hear me rant about my view on politics.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one.
That's going to be interesting, yeah.
I'm interested in the nature of that book, though, so it'll be fun. Now, I actually probably we should start with right away. Are you guys liking Ambush Bug Year None? We're two issues in. How are you? How are you guys feeling about it? Jim? You want to go ahead and?
Well, I like it. It's funny. There's the little quirky inside stories that I now get the inside jokes because I've been reading enough of this stuff. The last time we talked to Ambush, but I thought some of the inside jokes. I was like, it's probably supposed to be funny, but I didn't know this. I didn't know the work, so I'm like, oh, okay. But now I know this stuff. I get it. So it's definitely a multiple read though. Even when we weren't talking about it on the show, I had to read this thing a couple times just to figure out what the heck is going on here, man.
Did you figure it out yet?
No. I know by the time we're done discussing, I'll have a completely different idea on different segments.
I'm excited to talk about this one because there's so much satire that has to do with not just now, but recent comics history that's in this one. So that's going to be an interesting thing to chat about. Chad, what about you? Where are you at on this book?
Well, this is really my first, even though I've been a long time DC reader, my first exposure to Ambush Bugs. Mm-hmm. and I've yet to grab the old series and stuff like that. So it's like I said before, it took. I get the what they're referring to. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to refer to the character, seeing how I really don't have a lot of experience.
Like a point of reference?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is one of the things that I think as we chat through this, it'll be interesting to talk about what our point of references are to any of these events as we chat about them, because it's a wacky series. I loved it, but like I got all of the inside jokes because I've read all of the material being referenced. Plus, there's a lot of satire on things like comic creation that have changed over time, and satire on just, especially like the ongoing satire about women being killed in DC.
It opens with that. I'm like, oh man.
Wait, it opens with that in a very small dosage, where you see, just a few characters being killed and that type of thing. Then it ends up with them being shot off of catapults. By socks.
Yeah, I know. There's so many levels of what the hell.
But I love that. I mean, it's bizarre and twisted in all the right ways. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and we should just chat about what our thoughts are so far. Issue 1, I really enjoyed the source wall being used as a narrative device, but also being quite a bit sassy about how it's being drawn. It longs for like the sleek Kirby look. From implications that Kirby was robbed by Michael Jackson to Darkseid trying to have his way with the wall, Giffen and Fleming will clearly go every and anywhere. And I couldn't stop smiling as I read some of this.
Do you think the side tried to make it with the wall? You've seen his face. For all we know, they could be cousins.
Yeah, because Darkseid's the Rock look in his face. Yeah.
I like how the Rock mentioned that Big Barda attacked him this the past week because he mentioned her mustache. And he had chipped her tooth, so they called it a drawl.
I have a new line to use with you, Jim. The book is a full 22 pages, so there is no backup. I'm like, somebody likes me.
Also on that page with the backup reference, when it starts in Chicago and it's 25 or 6-4, I'm going, that's a song.
Mm-hmm. And they do songs. There's a lot of
show of hands of people who started singing the song when they read it. Okay. I'm not the only one who raised a hand. Chad did too.
But nobody can see it.
Well, that's why I said
love that on a podcast, an audio podcast. Why don't you have everyone say I?
That would make sense.
Yeah. Wait, even at this point, you said I'm not the only one that raised my hand. Nobody knows who.
That's what Chad did. Come on. Give me some slack.
Everybody raise your hand if you like the book. Raging Bullets is such a strange show. I never know what they're talking about.
Well, we're as long and dense as a video cast, so I figured let's throw in some visuals.
Sure.
Leave it up to the listeners to figure out who liked it.
That's right, yeah, exactly. Well, we can start polls. Johnny DC was murdered, and I do love the reference throughout to how comic books have changed since Ambush Bug was last published. Something here for classic fans and accessible stories for newer fans. There's a nice balance here, which I really did like, because it is one of those series, I agree with you, when we did it originally, it had to have been hard for you because you didn't read a lot of the material that was referenced in the original Ambush Bug series. So that was one of the conversation points that we had last time. So it's nice now that at least they've redone an Ambush Bug series and there's more modern stories to pull from.
This is my Ambush Bug, man.
Johnny's death isn't the only one, though, because it pokes fun at the characters winding up in fridges, such as from Green Lantern, and the sheer amount of harm that has befallen the female main characters and supporting casts. Gail Simone did a whole little, thing on women in refrigerators, and understandably so, because that was an ongoing theme. I love how Giffen, though, takes it, and really, it's satire, but he slams the reality in our face. And I really like that.
I like how the cells lady says it's a standard feature when Ambush Bug asks, do all major appliances come with a dead body in it?
Hey, you sank my battle axe. I think what really struck me here is that the team managed to keep this funny without having a ton of groaning moments. Because I generally found the jokes everything from a slight chuckle to pretty darn hysterical. And the pacing, I think, is one of the keys there, because there's different segments throughout. It's kind of like crafted like how Tiny Titans is, where like if there's one segment that's really not grabbing you or you're kind of confused by it or something like that, it jumps to a new segment. Even though it's a bigger story, it's nice the way that the pacing's broken up, because although some of these jokes could be like SNL and such dragged out too long, which some of my favorite Saturday Night Live skits are the ones that are short and sweet and kind of get the point made and then move along. While other ones, I mean, you remember Jim in high school, we'd watch some Saturday Night Live skits and be like, make it stop.
Isn't that how it is now?
Yeah, there are skits like that, exactly.
I haven't seen it for like maybe 5 years, so
I've actually enjoyed the past 2 seasons. They're starting to get back in the groove, but there's still sketches that just kind of like nobody knows how to end them.
Where's the point?
Yeah. Well, the point was already made 2 minutes before, and it's time to move along. So it was interesting. As a longtime reader, I loved the commentary on how his thought balloons have changed and the new DC logo. He's on the case with this Johnny DC murder. But I geeked out when I first saw Cheeks the Toy Wonder, because, he was such a prominent part of the last one. You enjoyed Cheeks, I think, in the last one.
Dude, man, Cheeks was awesome. Yeah. And he still, kicks some major butt. I dig him. It's the little funny, quirky moments. And it's, the fact that it is a doll, so we're not going to see him do any action or any movement, but that's kind of the funny point behind it.
Well, there's funny bits with Cheeks that it reminds me of Stewie from Family Guy. Because it's Stewie from Family Guy, you're always wondering whether or not the family can actually hear him speak, and they never really, if you look back and watch the segment, it seems like they're responding to what he's speaking, but then there's moments later where you're like, well, really, they could have been just responding to him gurgling or gooing or whatever, so we don't know. In this case, there's moments where I think Cheeks can move, because he'll wind up in a different outfit or something, and I'm like, I didn't see him put him in that.
See, that's where not being familiar with Ambush Bug kind of threw me off, because I was like, Cheeks the Toy Wonders. What's that? I had to go look it up.
It's a doll.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, and I still don't know. So I mean, there's nothing in this one or any previous series that let me know whether or not Cheeks could actually move. But because most of the time we do see Ambush Bug throw him into places or whatever. He is like his Wilson from Castaway.
Oh, definitely Wilson.
Yeah. Keith Giffen explained it all away. Any continuity issues that people have been complaining about, right here in these pages, it's explained. Johnny DC's dead. She's the continuity cop.
If it were only that simple.
Yeah. Wrapped everything up nicely in a bow. She devoted her whole life to making sense of things, and now her death was senseless. And I did like this. Because he does. Keith Giffen, if you've listened to any of the DC Comics podcasts, any of the conventions that he's been at, he constantly is throwing out a little satire on the internet and, the fact that, which is kind of funny because growing up, there were certain things that never bothered me because I just read the books and you didn't have the dialogue that you do now. But now that we're all chatting about it, I think we all get each other riled up about certain things. Okay, the sequence where he instigated the death of Jean Loring was hysterical.
Dude,
from, sharing gossip to the fact that she wasn't invited to the party, priceless.
And talks about putting a flea in her ear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
I'll take care of that myself.
Although on the page before that, what really got me kind of, I guess, confused as to when the time frame was, they talk about the JLA headquarters, which they show the moon base, and so it's just kind of. I
don't think he sticks to the rules of time frames and continuity. I think he's pulling events for wherever they fit. So I don't think he's deliberately going out of his way to stick directly to hey, it has to happen in this time frame. Because they even make jokes about one source wall year later and how that the source wall years don't play into our years and all that. So I think that was kind of his way of saying we're going to kind of go anywhere and everywhere we can and fit in these jokes just where they seem to.
Also like how he lowered Batman's chair by 6 inches.
Yeah.
Because Batman would notice that. He would be like, what's going on with my chair? And he'd want to see it. He'd pull up the cameras, see who messed with his chair. I could see him doing that. He's a little anal that way.
The Jean Loring death thing read so true to me, though, because when you think about it, how many times have we all put our foot in our mouth? You know, somebody tells you that secret, and you don't even you're like trying to keep it, and you'll let something slip, even if you didn't like reveal the whole secret. You'll let something accidentally slip that you heard, and it has like this catastrophic effect because it clicks right then and there what's really going on, and we've all been there at some point in time before. So I'm like, that was what made it so funny, because you could see it happening.
I know, little slips of the tongue like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll co-host on a show with you.
Argyle is back.
Yes! Viva la Argyle!
But I love how the little socks are like, sell it, boss! And he can keep retelling his origin and hating it because I haven't looked at my socks the same since.
See, that kind of helped me, you know, because like, okay, that to me looks like a Doctor Doom mask.
Yes.
It's supposed to. Yeah. That's the thing I like. They do that, where they're crossing over the lines and they're doing whatever they want to in this.
They got me. I don't know if you guys noticed the Robert Loren Fleming tombstone.
Yeah.
I actually looked on the net.
I meant to do that.
I did. He's not dead.
No, he's not.
Also, like the one.
I was like, oh no.
The one in the first panel that says thought bubbles, or thought balloons.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. But I did. I saw that tombstone. I'm like, oh my gosh, is he okay or what? So I actually did a search, and yeah, he's fine.
He got better.
Yeah. But then I was like, afterwards, I'm like, you idiot, it was a joke. Okay, pretty funny that during the whole seeking out clues at the resort, there's another dead woman in the swimming pool.
It's kind of creepy.
Here's a funny thing I thought. When they first introduced to that Cecil Sunbeam of the Green Team, like, yeah, we don't know who they are either. I don't know. I jumped online. I did the Wikipedia search on the Green Team, and they actually existed. They were in one issue. It was it was a DC's first issue special, Volume 2, and I was just like, oh my god, these guys had one shot, they had one issue where they were the main title, then they're in different panels, like those one Animal Man went to limbo, and they're in limbo trying to get us out of here, help, you know, and that kind of stuff. So it's like, holy obscure reference, outstanding.
Isn't Animal Man always, like, sort of in limbo?
Yeah, especially with these characters, right, yeah. Except Buddy's been great lately. All of a sudden, like, Ambuk Bug, you're right, he was, Animal Man was, like, in this whole, like, phase where nobody was doing anything with them. Now all of a sudden he seems to be appearing everywhere. He's been in Justice League lately, the cosmic stories. It's like, where all of a sudden did he come from?
I mean, I recently went back and read the whole Animal Man, his old series.
Isn't it wonderful?
I like the Grant Morrison stuff, but I kind of didn't like how they went back and every time a new writer came on, they had to, you know, oh, let's kill him again, or let's mess with his origin. But, you know, that's just...
Well, that's the type of thing, though, like, as we talked about when we were chatting Hawkman. That's the type of thing that messed up Hawkman so bad, instead of just sticking with the origin. I don't know. I guess, do you guys feel that when a new creative team jumps on a book, that they have to redo the origin? Do you, like, feel... Like, how often do you as fans feel like they have to redo the origin? Do you need the origin of a character for every book that you read? Because I think that's why they redo it, with the intention that newer readers know the background of the character. But how... Like, do you guys have to have that?
I don't think I have to have it every time. I mean, with the year ones that they're doing, I think that, you know, like Green Arrow was great.
Right.
The other ones, they were hit and miss. I really didn't. I mean, Teen Titans year one was good. I don't think I needed the origin of them again. I could have, if they do like more obscure characters that you really don't know, and they
like
can
Metamorpho and stuff like that when they did that.
The Huntress one was meh, kind of hit and miss.
I guess what I'm talking about is in the main title. Because in that case, you're talking about miniseries where you have the option then, like if I want to follow this character, I can. In the main title, do you need the character's origin constantly redefined with the new creative teams?
I don't think so, as long as the last person didn't screw it up too bad.
Right.
See, I'd like to see origins change every month. You know, just every issue is a new origin story, and we just keep changing things around. You know, and just see what's going on. Yeah, have some fun with it.
I do like what Jeff Johns is doing over in Green Lantern. Are you reading Green Lantern, Chad?
Yeah, I like how he's going back and kind of weaving it into there.
Yeah,
that's fine with me. But completely redoing, you know, an origin kind of miffs me.
Right. And he hasn't really, in his run, he's been on Green Lantern a rather lengthy amount of time, and in his run he hasn't really done an origin. There are certain characters that I wouldn't mind origins from, because they haven't been, like Superman. I'd love to, it's kind of a strange thing. I wouldn't mind seeing a Superman origin now because, and I know there's going to be, I thought Jeff Johns said there's going to be one coming in 2009. I want to know what's in continuity and what's not, because I don't know right now. And that's not a bad thing.
See, like with Robin, the way it flowed through, you had Beecham to Dixon to Nicias. It's there's never been a change in origin. There's been returning characters, continuing characters, and it was just a nice flow through from one creator to another. And it's why Robin, for me, is kicking butt from then until now. Same thing like with the Titans. It's a flow through. The new creative team came in. They're changing, tweaking some stuff, adding some characters, but it's still the same team. It's still the same flow. What happened, 20 issues ago still feels like it's part of the same team.
I think that's a great example of a book, though, where it makes sense to do a mini-series to do the origin of the character. Same thing with like Huntress, a great example of, in Birds of Prey, to do a Huntress origin in Birds of Prey doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But to do a Huntress origin as a mini-series on the outside does. Teen Titans, because of the longevity of the team, what origin are you going to do in the main series? You're going to jump all the way back? Most of those people aren't members. Matter of fact, all those people aren't members of the team.
No original members.
I was just going to say most. I'm like, no, all of them aren't, because even the Robin's not the same guy. So it's... really, if you're going to go back and do an introduction to the Teen Titans, you almost have to do it as a mini, because those characters don't naturally lend to it. And I think that's why Green Lantern's working, because that's the character that he's currently got in the book anyway. So, and he's leading into Blackest Night with it, so it's not just a standard origin, it's expanding.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not really changing anything. He's just, I guess, filling in holes. And using it to, progress the story that they're building up to.
I guess that's it. I don't mind retellings of the origin with a new sensibility, as long as, like you're saying, I think this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're getting at here is as long as you keep to the root of the character and don't go out of your way to make them unrecognizable.
Right.
Yeah, because that's what's happening with Green Lantern. What did we get off on a tangent there?
Tangents? No.
Yeah, maybe no shock. But back to the swimming pool with the dead woman in the pool. It kept popping up again and again, and that's a great example of satire that makes you think, I'm like, boy, he really is making a statement. This happened an awful lot in the DCU.
Actually, the first thing on that page that caught my eye was the Yankee Poodle from Captain Carrot.
Yes, yes. To Egg Foo, then on the next page to Ace the Bat Hound, to Amazing Man. Random references like the Green Team to wild characters of the DC Universe throughout history. The Glop bit was one of my favorites. The downfall of vinyl records hit us all hard, but none so bad as Glop. Imagine your whole gimmick of terrorizing Wonder Girl is now being outdated by new technology. What do you mean I can't do this anymore because we got cassette tapes? And then his stench. I notice the way you're reacting to me. It's my stench, isn't it? This happened to me multiple times. You have that awkward moment. It's usually, with the Magic Man sitting across from me, where you want to douse the person in speed stick. What's that, Jim?
You're number one, buddy. You're number one.
I'm only kidding. Seriously, though. It's funny because it's true. Because, like, when you're at conventions, comic conventions, we're all a bit stinky. I'm throwing myself into that whole mix. And you get those moments where all of a sudden you're nearby somebody, and because you all smell bad, you're not sure who's really pungent, but somebody is, and you're trying to get away from that conversation as politely as possible, which is what was so funny about the whole thing. While Ambush Bug is trying to get clues from Glop, Argyle's crew takes this time to strike. And of course, they are hiding by another dead woman. Right by the side of the road. Go-Go checks. Do you guys remember the checkered box borders that they were referencing here? Did you guys read any comics that had those?
I don't think I have.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't get that. I was thinking, I'm wondering if this is a real DC character, because I could see this guy in the Silver Age very easily. He would fit.
They were talking about the classic thought balloons and things like that changing. There used to be checkered box borders on the comics that were actually there, so that's what they're referencing. It's not something you really needed to know, but it's kind of a funny little inside joke if you had been reading comics during that time. Go-Go Checks is the hitman hired to take out Ambush Bug when Argyle can't take anymore. He's like Johnny Bravo meets a checkerboard. And I love this little bit with the Justice Cats of Coolville.
Oh, yeah.
Minor problem on Earth. It's, trapped in the 60s, and it's not like it's a big crisis or anything. And I love those little balloons on there. Now, if you could be trapped in this is to both of you, if you could be trapped in a historical era, which one would you be afraid to be trapped in? Because obviously he's terrorized by the fact that he's trapped in the 60s.
Ooh.
I have mine.
I don't know. I could go for any period that was before indoor plumbing, because there's no way I'd want to go to an outhouse.
I just moved to New York 2 years ago, and that's when I first got indoor plumbing. I lived in West Virginia. Just kidding.
But do you guys have an era? Well, obviously, Jim, it's indoor plumbing. Chad, can you think of an era you wouldn't want to live in, or you'd be afraid to live in?
I really can't think of one.
Mine was the colonial era, where they had those short pants and the dandy shirts and all that. I'm like, that would be my kryptonite. I'm like, ugh.
Well, if everyone else was wearing them, it wouldn't be that bad, though.
Yeah, I would. I'd want to be the one cool guy that's still wearing jeans. Ambush Bug is connecting the facts. Glop points out the Ambush Bug to clues that Go-Go Checks may have murdered Johnny. And the omniscient narrator bit was really funny. I kept getting tongue-tied on that word. Can you say it, Jim? Omniscient?
Omniscient.
Okay, there we go.
Omniscient?
Narrator was a really funny bit, because that's one of the things I do like about Ambush Bug. He kind of breaks that fourth wall. He talks to us. We're there. We're in the book with him. And I think it is because he's such an awkward and quirky character that you can kind of immediately relate. He's accessible. I have a soft spot for the classic Betty Kane Batgirl, and loved seeing her take out, what happened to Jean on Ambush Bug. I mean, this was her stepmom, according to this storytelling. And her father was the Phantom Stranger, who we find out later she's one of many illegitimate children of the Phantom Stranger.
Hey, he's a player. He likes to, he's out there.
Do we consider that an official retcon, or?
Always shows up, then disappears.
There you go. And now we know why. I can't forget the little boy, though, who is trying to reintegrate his brother after zapping him, based on a suggestion from Chester Straman, age 43, hospital for the criminally sane, from Phoenix, Arizona.
I also like how he says, I can't be blamed for every DC Universe cat fight.
The Jack Kirby Sandman is on the run, and this is totally random, but an interesting point. No matter what revamp happens, classic characters can still come back. They can be reused under the hands of a new writer with an interesting concept, and it was kind of a funny little play on that like, you can hide out, dude. You're going to eventually... But I love that he had the picture. If anybody sees you, make sure that they see that I look like this guy. Hold up the picture of Morpheus from the Vertigo version. So crazy, because Ambush Bug finds the hideout of Go-Go Checks too late. He left this world, passing by Phantom Stranger's bastard child number 273, dead in space. And then you see Argyle singing, "I grew accustomed to his face." I'm just like, this book is nuts.
Yeah. You're just like going, what?
This is like begging to be an animated series, because some of these bits I would love to see voice acting put towards. Like, I'd love to hear I grew accustomed to his face being sung by Argyle. The issue closes with Stephanie Brown's Little Dickens Power Tool play kit for Cheeks, with a teaser for the next issue, which shows us Ambush Bug's role in the death of Blue Beetle. And that's where, I love that this series, you're right. I was trying to, in my head, put a chronology together for this one as far as where it fits, and I don't know that you necessarily need to, because it didn't, afterwards I'm just kind of like, why am I bothering with this? Let me just enjoy the ride.
Right, that's when I decided to go back and read it again.
Yeah. As we get into issue 2, I love the cover with the reference to all the different lanterns out there, which is really appropriate. In this case, he's part of the Amber Butane Corps. We're going to casually talk about issue 2 and favorite gags as we kind of go through it. But you can't help but kick off with the source wall and Acapulco.
Hey, he's just chilling on the beach, sipping some margaritas and whatnot. You gotta dig that, man.
Mom, that's not what I meant by a chiseled physique.
But I do like how the JLA tried to mind wipe Ambush Bug. And of course, it doesn't work, but the one line in there, forget we ever dated.
But the taking away the memories does play into this as he goes on later.
Yeah, he forgets where he parked his car. Oh, no.
Also, like how it's the source wall says that Zatanna burst into tears and ran from the room.
Nanda Parbat and Rama Kushna is now Groucho Marx. I am a huge Marx Brothers fan, so I geeked out at the reference. Tiny little thing, but I got a kick out of it. Rama advises him to live the life through others, which is an interesting satire because we've kind of become a society where we do live vicariously through others. So I got a kick out of that one. I'm the 22nd century Rick Starr, Space Ranger, and you can be my alien friend, Krill. Krill grew up to become a member of the Amber Butane Corps in issue 8 of Unseemly Adventures. Did you take that was Krill that looked like Ambush Bug?
Yeah.
Because later on we do see like the full story of what happens with Krill.
Yeah, poor guy.
Cheeks turns it. Now this is where I'm like, okay, what's up with Cheeks? He turned into an OMAC. How did that happen?
Play nice with the other Omax.
He meets the alien race who worships the Flash that we've seen so recently in his book. I love the little Barry Allen dressed as a horse. You know, the little Barry Allen kid.
See, I kind of took that as Barry got a little bit friendly with one of the locals, and that was, Barry's love child. That's how I took it.
Now, did you read the Flash issues where you got to see this race, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Right. So, and you know how much they worship the Flash. So right. Okay.
Yeah, I just assumed that since they were, big fans of the Flash, and they had T-shirts too.
Yeah.
Looks like they have the Flash toy with the.
No, I knew that. I knew all about. I remember this race. No, I just kind of took it as a love child because he was like, "Hey, wait, that crew cut."
Really.
That's how I took it.
Really.
Maybe I was wrong.
You took, I don't know. Yeah. So you took like hero worship to be like they had a little good time, huh?
Yeah, why not?
This is Barry Allen,
he's on another dimension.
There you go.
Iris isn't there.
That's good. And
what happens in another dimension stays in another dimension.
What happens on the horsey world stays on the horsey world. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I'm gonna be trying hard to get that picture out of my head tonight.
Yeah. Jim seems to have embraced it, though. Yeah. Guys, do you think our world has a mauve lantern? And is he responsible for the recent resurgence of bell-bottoms?
Hey, Babaloo! Dude, I was cracking up with the mauve lantern, man.
I love the I Love Lucy references and everything. It was great. Mr. Nebula shows up and everyone needs to remodel their bathrooms in Knotty Pine.
Okay, here's something I never thought I'd say. An evil interior decorator? What the heck, man? If there's one occupation that I could not see being an is an interior decorator. Come on.
I do love how this sometimes makes some satire on very serious things, though, because Zook gives his life as a suicide bomber, while Go-Go Checks just watches. And it's actually great commentary on how baffling it is in real life that parents are sending their kids and doing this. And I liked how Go-Go Checks was sitting there watching along in safety while, Zook, his little sidekick, was blowing him up. It just gets nuts from here, though, because Ambush Bug gets
nuts? Yeah. Like it hasn't been already.
Well, more nuts. Because Ambush Bug gets turned into a bear because he said pause for a moment, which Nebula took as animal paws and turned him into or gave him a bear outfit or whatever it was.
And the race gets turned into My Little Ponies.
Yeah, I said that. I caught that, too.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And then beats him up for it, and I would, too.
Oh, God, if you go from the first way you look, and okay, yeah, I can understand. There's still a little bit of coolness to it. But becoming a pretty pony like that, oh no, it's on now, baby.
I love this little side story with the Omax. Batman caused the OMAC thing because Brother Eye was mimicking his OMACs, which he called Robins. And they're often ill-fated, too. Just ask Spoiler or Red Hood. It's like... One thing about Ambush Bug is that the jokes work in the same way they do in Tiny Titans. Like I said, this little... And we flash to this, Mitsubishi's Help Murder Police super fun action manga spoof. I'm like, where did this come from now? Now what are we doing?
It's like, the only thing I recognize in that is Solomon Grundy.
Yeah. Well, he's bullied by Solomon Grundy and Doomsday for, I'm guessing, lunch money? Is that what you're taking that
That's
as?
what I took it as, yeah.
Because that was Doomsday in the other
Oh,
picture,
God,
right?
yeah, that was definitely Doomsday. And I like how when he's running away from Grundy, he's like, you won't get away from me. I wasn't born yesterday. Actually, it's Tuesday, so you were.
But then he gets beat up anyway. We flash back to the amber butane lantern, who is, which is Krill, I guess, who is fighting the parasitic sock puppets of Pluto, blowing the whole place up when his recharged lighter shows up in brightest day, in blackest night, whenever someone needs a light. I love that he died because his lighter was busy partying it up and watching Mitsubishi. We find on the next page, like, this whole little side story with his lighter, who
It's
just,
a true Hollywood story.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, come on, man. That was outstanding. If you're going to party somewhere, you're going to party Vegas. Come on. He was rolling right. You know, he hit got some chow, got some booze, a little bit of ladies, maybe he slept in a little bit late, but hey, the room was already paid for and the satellite was extra. It was right included. Come on. How can you pass that up?
I love when Ambush Bug, we start to see in this next sequence with Ambush Bug, that he starts getting his memory back. Finds out they picked on him. You see the Spectre all of a sudden out of the blue trying to take the soul of Mitsubishi, which just came from out of nowhere.
Well, it's a running gag.
Yeah. The sense of comic timing is great, though, because the book never slows down. One gag runs into another at the weirdest times. His home is destroyed, and his anger causes him to give into his outfit and become Ambush Bear. And the fight with go-go checks filled with Yogi Bear references. I'm like,
hey, boo, 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 here's a picnic basket.
It was kind of like, where didn't they go?
Yeah.
The Blue Beetle bit was my favorite, though. Ambush Bug is a huge fan. And like the typical fanboy, he gets Blue Beetle shot when he's about to take down Max Lord by distracting him asking for an autograph at a really inappropriate time. Didn't he go to the signing?
Also, like how they have the Comics Code Authority stamp over the...
And the blue splatter.
Now, I tell you, I liked, though, him at the con dressed up as Blue Beetle, arguing with the guy in the Booster Gold costume.
And then the Wonder Woman that was in the background. It was great. How much you want to bet, though, that Giffen drew from some weird autograph experience? Like being asked at some really strange time for an autograph. That just seems a little too real life for me. I liked the Code drinking at the end, too, complaining about how the books have changed. I got nudity, they got other... Corinthians 13:11. I would follow Cheeks. I got to be honest with you. But I love that it was this whole page just showing the doll tip over.
Yeah. And the child will lead them. Well, maybe not.
And that's Swamp Thing and
OMAC.
Yeah. I guess
Buddy Blank.
Yeah, the classic Buddy Blank look. So I was like, yeah, once again, more ties back.
That guy looks familiar to me.
I was just wondering if the guy in the middle is supposed to be somebody or just a random guy. I think he's just
he's just a random guy, yeah. Jan Jones is my new favorite comic character.
And breaks the fourth wall.
Oh, yeah. Mitsubishi complains about the attacks on his life, and she resolves it by telling Deathstroke that the guy is taking his miniseries slot if he lives long enough. Too funny. Expect to see Jan Jones as a new member of the Secret Six in the future.
Hey, she could be the new sixth member that they haven't introduced
Maybe
yet.
that's it. It's Jan Jones in disguise. Ambush Bug's living down in a box, down by the river, and is fishing to stay away from trouble from other heroes, and you see Aquaman looking on. Just a great ending.
Hold on, I loved how he's sitting there, he had heartburn and a bad taste in his mouth from when he ate the hamburger henchman that Checkers had. I was like, yes, of course he's going to eat that guy.
I thought for a second, did you guys take a look at the next issue blurb? I thought for a second there it was Tranquility's Pink Bunny, but I think I'm way off. I was
okay, that was my first thought as well.
Okay.
Welcome to Tranquility, the bunny.
Which, he's pulling from so many obscure things. I'm like, maybe it's that. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm anxious to read next issue just to find out what it was. It was funny. You were mentioning that you... did you get more out of it then after multiple read-throughs?
Oh, yeah.
Did you start enjoying it more?
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. This was one, on my first read-through, I enjoyed it. But it was the second and even third read-through where the jokes started clicking. They started making more sense. Because it really is, I think by its very nature, very different storytelling than I'm used to in a regular book because of the fact that it jumps around and it's more humor-oriented and there's a lot of sight gags. And like you said, continuity-wise and flow-wise, it doesn't follow the most
gives you
logical.
whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. In a good way, though. I wouldn't want all my books like this, but Ambush Bug is thoroughly charming because of the fact that it's a very unique experience.
See, and I'm actually going to pull out my other Ambush Bug, the Ambush Bug, then Son of the Ambush Bug. I got to reread him again, just because to see if I get the jokes more now.
Have you read Son of Ambush Bug, or did you just read the one that we did?
I just read the one we did, but I picked up Son of Ambush Bug at a con for I think it was total $5 each, or total or something like that. So I was like, okay, I can't pass that up. And I had Ambush Bug, so I grabbed them both up for dirt pricing. So I was like, okay,
I do recommend picking them up as long as you can get past the fact that if you're a newer reader, that some of the jokes are going to be ones that are out of date. So the references to stories that, with things being traded now and collected, you may get more of the jokes than you realize now. But there were certainly a lot of them that were clearly referencing events and creators and things that were going on at the time. Very similar to how this is referencing storytelling items. Like if you didn't understand, that things like that DC had this long stretch where a lot of female characters were getting horribly butchered. That's a joke you wouldn't get and understand the satire of it, because that was the great thing about it. Giffen plays satire on something that was a very real, chronic thing that was happening in comics at the time. There was a lack of balance as far as male characters, and it really was. Females were getting butchered. So it was interesting to see him play off of that and play off of real world issues, while at the same time poking fun at how comics have changed. And I liked it. I really liked it. So it was a fun read for me. I'm anxious to finish the series, especially now that we see some of the later covers, involving the monitors. So there's going to, Countdown and 52 and all that
there's
stuff.
Going to be something about
have a
Countdown.
field day. Yeah.
He's gonna open up, I think.
There's so much material there with Countdown.
Well, and he worked on both of those weeklies. So for him, I'm sure there's going to be satire on his own experience on working on the book as well, which is going to be littered throughout. So interesting to see that from a creator standpoint. So it was interesting. Chad, what else are you reading? I mean, I know Ambush Bug was one you picked for this. Manhunter was another book that you suggested. And just because we've done Manhunter before, I would love to do Manhunter again. But I figured we haven't done Ambush Bug in so long that it would be a good one to hit on at the moment. But what are you liking about Manhunter? It's one of those books that you picked right away. What is it about Kate?
I just, I think I first started reading the series around Infinite Crisis, and being the completist that I am, I was like, oh, it has the tie-in banner, so I got to go grab it. And read it. This is kind of interesting. And the comic store was having a sale, so I'll just go ahead and grab some of the back issues, and said, oh, this is really interesting. And then they had the standalone issue with the origin of her suit. I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And how they pieced that together. And then I just kept following. And when they finally came back, what was it, in June?
Yeah.
I liked how they recognized that they'd been gone for a while, and they had that 2-page catch-up for everybody.
Yeah, especially because she hasn't been gone.
Right, and I like how they have kind of kept her involved in the Birds of Prey, and kind of kept her on the radar.
Now, do you see her as a different person on Birds of Prey than she is in her own title, or do you think that's a pretty good jive of who she is?
Well, to get back to the original question, what am I reading now? Is I'm kind of 2 months behind. I have a stack I started doing triathlons this summer, so I've been training, and I have a race next week and the week after. So I'm kind of getting
back into the loop. Right.
My day involves getting up, going to the gym, either teaching a spin class or taking one, going to work, then going back to the gym, going home, going to bed, and repeating. Right.
So it's hard to find time then to get caught up on things that are backlogged.
Right. But I have been reading the Tiny Titans and the Super Friends, which are just those one short, self-contained books that I can sit down and read, have a good laugh, and not have to worry about waiting until something else comes out.
I'm glad you mentioned those, because that's really, to me, one of the nice things about the Johnny DC line and what they're doing right now. It's honestly got a greater appreciation. This is what's been going on all along. These are all ages reads. And the key there is all ages. I used to have that stigma in my head where I'm like, well, this is just kids' books. And there's nothing there for me, until I actually started cracking them open and reading them. then I started realizing, I'm like, well, no, they're just really accessible, fun reads that are just appropriate for everybody.
What I like with the Tiny Titans is I like how being it's good for young kids who have no clue what the who the Teen Titans are, but you still get like the Ravager is Deathstroke's daughter, and
Right.
Raven and
Trigon. And, yeah, as the principal.
In fact,
well, I mean, I'm sorry, Deathstroke's the principal, and then Trigon's dad is like a stay-at-home. Trigon's like a stay-at-home
teacher or something.
Yeah, but then you see him like letting her go to school the one day, and he's like dressed up in an apron, help packing her lunch and stuff like that. That book just makes me crack up every single time I pick up a new issue of it. And I love their clubhouse being a treehouse.
Yeah.
That little bit, and now we're seeing Blue Beetle, and we're getting more of like Kid Devil and some of these other kids that we haven't had in the book yet.
For one of my friends had his 3-year-old had a birthday party first part of the summer. So, and his kid's a really big Batman fan, and so I got him the full run of the first animated series run. Then I also got him the current issues of the Tiny Titans and the Super Friends.
You talking about the Batman Strikes run or the one before that?
The
one...
first animated series run.
Okay, based off
the cartoon.
Yeah. From like that Tim Dini verse.
Yeah, right.
Those are really good, actually. They actually have this miniseries that goes along with that I read. That it was one of the first ones that really made me realize I'm like, I am really missing some good storytelling here. They had a miniseries that explained how Dick Grayson became Nightwing. Because on TV, they never really explained that in the episodes. They kind of made that jump to Tim Drake, and then they had Nightwing pop in every so often. This one actually goes through and explains the transition. And a comic mini that was set in the animated universe, which I really liked that they kind of filled in some holes within the series as well. And the Justice League, did either of you guys read the Justice League animated series based on that cartoon?
I've read a few issues.
Yeah.
But it's not one that I get on a regular basis, but hope to.
Well, it was one of those. I mean, fortunately, it's one of those that was canceled.
Yeah.
But that's one that through back issues. I haven't gotten all of it myself either. But the issues that I've read, what I liked about it is it felt like it was set on the cartoon, but they brought in, like, the one I read had the Crimson Avenger in it, but it was like the original Crimson Avenger before the one we're seeing in JSA, in the recent continuity. And it was really cool to see them kind of expanding where the TV show never got a chance to go, because it really could have stayed around forever if it wasn't for all that crazy Cartoon Network licensing and whatever happened. That was a series with the DC history. Who couldn't you bring into the show?
True, and I mean, I remember when they started with the expanded roster for the show. I was like, "This is cool. There's Star and Stripe. There's
And they did a pretty good job of nailing everybody as far as keeping really consistent to their character. Even if they had to play with something a little bit, they stayed pretty true. Like, it was really identifiable who people were, and origins were pretty dead on. The Hawkman one, I thought they did a great job of capturing both versions of Hawkman. From Silver Age straight on back to the Golden Age. They managed to kind of put a marriage of those two origins together and make those fit, which, that's kind of important to me that, even though it was just for a short couple episode thing. Are you guys excited for Brave and the Bold, the animated series that's coming out?
Oh yeah, dude, big time. I'm seeing a couple of the clips on the internet and a couple of the sneak peeks and whatnot, and it's looking pretty cool.
I might actually start watching TV then.
Yeah, because I mean, it's it's going to be I think every episode it's going to be Batman teaming up with new characters, I would guess.
So it's kind of like the old Brave and the Bold, where it's like Batman and the Phantom Stranger, Batman and the Atom.
Well, I thought it's called Batman and the Brave and the Bold.
I don't know.
I thought Batman's name is in the title.
Well, it would make sense. It would make sense. So you're right. It might be Batman and the Brave and the Bold. I don't know what the exact title is. I know when they were originally billing it, they're calling it Brave and the Bold. But what you're saying, Jim, makes a lot more sense from a marketing standpoint. Why wouldn't you throw a Batman?
Yeah, you gotta have the name out there to just Batman. Let me see what that is.
With the popularity of the character right now, you'd be nuts. It's like, why wouldn't you broadcast? You want them to see that Batman's actually more important than the Brave and the Bold in there. But I do like that I got to see the current Blue Beetle was one of the characters that I saw. I saw Green Arrow was one of the characters in there, at least from some of the previews. So those are characters I'm going to be really anxious to see animated and interacting with them. I'm curious to see where they go with this.
I'm actually really curious to see the Jaime's voicing and who they get to do his voice.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff I'm wondering if they're going to get names, or if we're just going to get no names, or if we're going to get Kevin Conroy to do the voice for Batman, or if there's going to be another person doing the voice for Batman. That's one of the things I'm really interested about.
I think the tone is supposed to be that this has nothing to do with voice acting, but it's supposed to be a little bit more all ages friendly than, say, the Batman animated series was, which that wasn't really far off from it, but when it first kicked off, it was an evening series, so it had a little bit more of a darker tone that was a little bit closer to the films of the time, but certainly not too far off for kids. But I think this one is really, and I'm excited about that, actually, because this might be something where they could then do a comic book that ties in with it. And people are always saying, where is that launching point to get kids to the characters today? Well, if you're doing a Brave and the Bold series that's all ages, that's geared towards, kids and families and things like that you can read together, that's the natural point where the kids get old enough they can jump off then to these heroes in the main universe because they'll know who they all are.
Right. I mean, let's say they do see like a Blue Beetle episode. I want to, find out more about this Blue Beetle, and you can just go, they can be sent to the comic.
Yeah, but it definitely, I think, a Johnny DC title to be a launching point from this, to carry them through a few years until they're age appropriate for the current series. I think that's where, we're always looking for, I guess, that transition point to get new readers into comics that are at least already interested in the characters, and I think that would be the natural transition.
Yeah, you got the initial hook to get them interested, but you need the draw. You need to pull them in a little bit deeper, get them stuck into the addiction, so they're sitting there bugging their folks, buy me this, fine. The next thing you know, they're, going through college and choose beer or comics. Oh, tough call, it's, you give them a little taste and they'll want more.
And then they eventually end up with 13 to 15 long boxes full of comics.
That's what they need to do for the college-age kids. The beer on, the comics on the beer.
Ooh,
open up a can, you get the first 2 pages, and as you're going along there.
That bud.
Yeah.
After you've had a little to drink, you'll buy anything.
Yeah, wait, and by the 12th page, continuity doesn't matter. But, yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually excited for the Brave and the Bold series because I'm hoping that's another one. It seems like Johnny DC, they do a really good job of capturing the current animated hit and getting it out there. My kids right now are reading in my classroom the Legion of Superheroes trade because they have one for the Superboy and the Legion trade. So I'm hoping that they go and do the same thing with Brave and the Bold because I know I'm going to pick it up, but I'm always more interested in seeing, to me, the Johnny DC line is a great accessible line for newer readers. To hit a new audience of people who are like us, so who are competing so much with video games and television and things like that, that this is kind of a natural media tie-in that hopefully kids will get a hold
Aren't they
of.
doing a new Johnny DC title, kind of like Teen Titans or Tiny Titans with the regular superheroes?
I think that's a mini.
Mini?
I think. I saw that. It's going to be like them going to school. It's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, that whole crew going back to school. Not going back to school, going to school, which I'm excited for that one, too. But I think that's and I might be wrong on this.
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure,
that's a mini.
it's a mini.
Because I know they have a Supergirl one that's going to be a mini.
And I'm excited for that one, too. I've seen the previews for that. It's the Johnny DC line's been really great. The Shazam line.
I read that, the
Mike
first
Uncle?
issue of that one, yeah.
Isn't that great? I'm looking forward to issue 2 of that. And wait, that was one I would love to have that sitting down on the table when a parent were to tell me that comics aren't going to help kids with their reading. Not only do the panels go sequentially, but the amount of dialogue in that series in itself is just staggering. It's a wonderful, wonderful read, and the artwork's fantastic. So I'm glad to see this line. I will never again misunderstand all ages and what that means because I'm having fun with them. So it's kind of a fun thing. Well, Chad, definitely thank you for joining us on this one. You have the distinction. You're the first guest that's ever
in studio.
Yay!
Yes. Thank God.
Flag the tape.
Yeah. Thank God you didn't come in during one of the 100-degree days where it's in here because it's a little warm and musty in here now. Imagine what it gets like when.
That's nothing. I don't have air conditioning in my car or my house, so I'm used.
You're used to this. There you go. All right.
But thanks for having me, and I have a good 7.5-hour drive back home now.
Well, you know what? And thank you too. next week we're going to be announcing our first contest winner. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a couple extra people outside of there to get you made some comic donations. So we're going to actually start giving those away next week on the show.
Cool.
So thank you very much for the donation.
Oh, not a problem. I told you when I dropped them off, I'd rather those comics, which were kind of extras when I was buying on eBay, trying to fill in gaps, and you can't always buy just the ones you need, so you have to buy the extra ones. But I'd rather see them go to people who would enjoy reading them rather than trying to hawk them off on eBay.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bundle them, and then I'm going to let the listeners who win choose. Just say what bundle you're most interested in, and like you said, pass on some good reading. So thanks a lot for doing that.
You're welcome.
Jimmy, calling a donut.
Joining us right now is JD Alvarez. And JD, we wanted to have you on because Jim and I haven't had a chance to talk yet about the Super Show. And we went to that wonderful convention that CGS held. We wanted to have a chance to talk about just our experiences with the Super Show, what we felt about the convention, and then just chat real quickly about some comics that you're enjoying. So why don't we start with the Super Show? With the Super Show, what did you like the best about the Super Show?
What I liked the best was, I guess, meeting everybody whose name I've heard for 3 years on every podcast I listen to. And it's just been like a dream come true to kind of just, hey, these people have faces. They're not just voices. Or they're not just forum tags. They have laughs and they have, great ideas, and everyone was just wonderful.
I remember when I went to my first CGS show, it was back when they were just doing episode recordings, and they announced their first one. I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to make the trek out there. And I remember it was just a small, I want to say it was maybe about 50 people. Which, I mean, that sounds small, but considering at the time that, their podcast wasn't, wasn't anywhere near where it's at now. It was really during the early stages, and the forum was kind of an underground thing and all that. It was interesting to go there. The experience you're talking about is exactly what my first experience was when I met everyone there. It was nice to put, faces to the voices and just have a good time. It's amazing to me now to see this has grown to a full-blown con.
Yeah, I'm amazed. When I was mentioning to people at the con that I don't have really any. It sounds weird. I don't have any friends that read comics. They all seem like, everyone says, you read comics. Oh, that's nice. And to actually go to somebody and say, I read comics, and they go, fantastic. That is awesome. I read comics too. And that is, what everyone wants. They don't just want that kind of, have that loneliness or what, something like that. But when you go to a community event, everyone is just enjoying everything you enjoy. And what's better than that? I mean, it just doesn't get any better. It's great.
Jim talks about that a lot. That's one of the things I know, Jim, you've mentioned now is different when we go to conventions and things like that. I remember my first Wizard convention I went to. I went by myself because the same thing JD's saying, I didn't have any local friends at the times before you and I were doing this that were really interested in comics. So I'm like, I'm just going to go. I'll just go. And it was just me. I went to panels. I did some shopping. I had a good time, but it's nowhere near what it is for me now. We go to Wizard conventions, we go to New York and things like that, and through the forum community and through other podcasters and things like that, and, just through our friends and things who listen to the show, there's always somebody to chat with at the con. And you're right, JD, it's no longer an isolated experience. But, Jim, that's how I think it's changed for you.
Oh, yeah, big time. And even, like, the CGS shows as they go along, meeting people at the one show, then I see them again at the next show, like, hey, bud, how's it going? Hey, how you doing, man? And it's this connection because you're starting off on even level. You both have that common ground. You both are digging comics. Whether you're a DC fanboy, a Marvel guy, whether you like the independent scene, there is that basic draw that's pulling you in. And from that, you're going to learn more about each other, and it's just a really cool social gathering. Like the last time we were in Chicago, for me, it wasn't about the shopping. It was about meeting people, hanging out, laughing and joking, waiting in line to get Ross's signature, but waiting, with people I didn't know, but I still ended up chatting with them about Countdown, about Final Crisis and whatnot. So it's still it's out there now. It's growing, and you're getting to, meet new people, and it's cool.
I will say that's true. I'm more willing now to chat with people. Obviously, I'll chat with people who listen to our show and people who I know from the forums, whether they listen to our show or not. I know them from the forums from other podcasts and other podcasters. But in line now, I am more willing to chat with people that are complete strangers about comics in general, whereas before I think I just stood there and like read my own books and stuff.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, I the same thing, Emerald City Comic Con 3 years ago. My wife says, "You just go. So what? You don't know anybody. Just go." And now it's a community, and not to mention the people who you chat with, but the artists. You know, I see it. I feel an artist is above. You know, we're fans of the artist. You know, that's the whole point. So when they're so down to earth and willing to chat and have a drink and just BS, it makes things like, wow, I could actually talk to somebody. So on Saturday, I was a little nervous, you know, overwhelmed with the fact that I, you know, flew 3,000 miles and I'm here and it's fantastic. But then having, you know, hanging out afterwards, having a couple drinks, you know, bowling, and then the next day, wow, it's so much easier to go, can I have a sketch, please? You know, you are awesome, and I wish I could do that. And that barrier was broken in just, you know, 4 or 5 hours of having a drink and chatting about, you know, your fifth grade, you know, memories about what happened when you were a fifth grader. You know, it just seems like, wow, we were all fifth graders, we were all fanboys. They just have that drive and talent to draw comics, and I have the urge to buy them. It's just great.
It's funny you mentioned chatting with the artists. One of the things I really liked about the Super Show was the layout. The Artist Alley, it was nice because, and I would love to see more cons try to find a way to structure it to give more alley space in between, you know, where the aisle where you're walking.
Yeah,
because the great thing was we got to socialize right amongst the tables, but yet people could still make it through. They could talk to the artists. I found that I stopped by and checked out more tables at this Artist Alley than probably any other Artist Alley at any convention. And the reason why was because it was comfortable to socialize there, and I didn't feel like I was an obstruction.
Yeah, you're right. You know, and it just makes things easier. And the way it was set up was the artists are in the middle, and what they produced, you know, what they were selling was on the outside, and how that's an ancillary product of what they do. You know, what we buy isn't, you know, we buy them. We don't buy the product. You know, yes, that's, you know, we read it, we love it, but we're buying what they're putting out and what they're spending their time on. You know, what takes me 20 minutes to read, they're spending, a month to draw or to write or to do whatever. It's really great.
See, I found that I stopped immediately by artists that I knew from previous cons, people who I knew that were friends of the shows, because I wanted to support and check out their work and things like that. So it was great. So I stopped by all their tables. But I did find that out of the corner of my eye, when I was chatting with people, because I didn't feel so rushed in the Artist Alley, I found that I caught more books that people were working on, and I tried more new things than I probably normally would have at any other convention, just because it was so easy to browse through what people were working on. So I do think this was definitely a great convention. And then they had all their shopping surrounding that on the outside. So it was really nice because nothing felt cramped. And it was, the layout was, I wish other conventions would take a look at this type of layout and really keep in mind that your idea is to maximize the amount of people that can actually get to the creators, especially people that are self-publishing and are trying to get their works out there. Or, you know, forget that. Not even just that. The artists that are there that are doing sketches, and whether they work for the big companies or little companies, whatever, any artist that's there in Artist Alley a lot of times is trying to finance being there through getting sketches, selling some of their original work, and things like that. That's part of another income that they're trying to make when they go to these conventions. So the easiest way for them to be able to do that is for them to have a space where people can look at their table, be looking at their original work, while somebody's checking out a sketch of theirs, while another guy's chatting with them. You know, if you've got that kind of space for them to multitask, it's better for the creator. You know, no matter how big or small, you know, they are or what, you know, company they work for or anything. And that was the thing that I really thought was interesting about the whole thing. I'm like, this is very artist friendly. And it was very business friendly for the shopping that was around the outside. Like, it was very easy to get to in-stock trades. It was very easy to get to the comic shops because there was Wild Pig that was there, and of course Lem's shop was there. So it was great to be able to get to those different shopping experiences nice and easily, and to visit some of our friends at the same time.
Well, not only that, just like with any business, once you have a connection with the person selling it, whether you're, it's a pest control place or anything, once you know that person and whether you've had a laugh with them or had a drink with them or, helped them carry a box, you're more likely to spend money with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a perfect example. Junebug Kim and Ryan Stegman, I hung out with them on Saturday night, and the next day, I wanted to spend money with them. It wasn't like, oh wow, these people are so great. I don't know if I can afford whatever they're selling, but I was drawn to go, you know what? I am going to spend money. I'm going to buy Ryan Stegman's first book because not only can he draw, but he's cool. And then I don't feel bad spending money, and that's the whole point of that con. It just, once you have a relationship with somebody, you want to support them and spend money, and that's what they want, and you want to fuel their desire to draw, and you do that by spending money. Yes, it's great for us to have a relationship, but to them, they need money to do what they do, and that's how it works. Is they had a laugh, and we spent we hung out all night and went to the West Reading Diner afterwards, and the next day, dropping $20 was like nothing. It's like, wow, I'll do this every time. If I know you, I'll support you.
But that's true of any industry, and it makes sense, and it's one, especially in this industry where it really is fan based and loyalty based. Like, you're going to remember, like, I bought his first book, and you're going to follow that career, and you're going to enjoy seeing the growth in that career because you've made that connection there. I got a sketch by Mike Norton of Green Arrow. And it was funny, he asked me at the table, he's like, don't you already have a sketch from me? Because I did. I got an all-new Adam from him, which was great. And
he's awesome.
Yeah, oh, he is. But, it was one of those things is I do like getting new sketches from creators. That is one of the things. Like, I tried to stop by creators that I've seen before to get new sketches, and some of them were booked up. Jamal was booked up by the time I got there. Yeah. No big shock. Because we arrived late on Saturday, but Jamal's work's wonderful as well, and I am going to catch him at the next con that I go to. I'm going to head beeline to his table because I'm dying for another.
Awesome.
But see, to me, that's half the fun of following an artist, is that you get to see how their artwork has progressed, because art is one of those great things, and writing, and that's a great thing about following a writer as they go along. It's not a static art form. You don't just get good and then stay good and it doesn't go anywhere. They progress over time. They become masters. And as they become masters, they take it to another level and keep going and keep going. So, we can remember their early work and follow a progression. That, to me, is part of the joy of this hobby, is we get to follow these people from their earliest work straight on through to today and get to appreciate that growth and that change and get to enjoy that with them, but from a fan standpoint. So when I go to a convention like this, to see creators that I've seen 2, 3, 4 years in a row at different cons, but to see where they are now versus where they were 2, 3, 4 years ago is thrilling for me, because I'm enjoying that ride with them. I'm enjoying watching their success and being a part of that. I love picking up their books to see their next new thing and what they're doing. Jamal had some Supergirl stuff, for example, up there.
Yeah.
Mike Norton was talking about what he's doing with Green Arrow. He's got some changes for that. Seeing good old Citizen Dave from the forum on the Guns of Shadow Valley.
Oh, dude, that is just an outstanding, just wonderfully looking, and I picked up the sneak peek that he had when we were in Chicago, and just
Chad Sacconi's stuff on baby boomers, Michael Finger with his new Amazon's book. I want to check that out. It's interesting to see people. I picked up Mercury and the Murd, which was definitely a book that I was looking forward to picking up. There's so many things that A Living Corpse was another one that I picked up that I ended up grabbing the series just because I was chatting with the guys. It was really nice because I never felt like I was being pushed. I do find at bigger cons, and I don't know, JD, if you had this experience, where you go to Artist Alley, and there comes a certain point where I've had enough of Artist Alley because I feel like I'm in the line to a roller coaster where you've got like people pushing you on one side, people pushing you on the other side. You never can really, the creator wants to chat with you because they want to make that connection, but you always feel like you're imposing because there's three other people that are pushing you the other way. This was real nice and open. And it was a great experience because people, like I said, could browse through original art and stuff like that. You could actually have a conversation while a person was doing a sketch with you, a sketch for you. Or even if you weren't having a conversation, you could watch it. I was watching people do sketches for other people and salivating because I have no drawing talent. And I'm amazed at how they're...
Well, that was awesome. That's a great point right there. I got a whole bunch of sketches. And one of my two favorite ones were from Erica Hesse, and she is awesome. And I told her this was kind of weird when I first asked this was, can I watch? And it seems like a weird question because if you were, if it was anything else, like let's just say swimming, can I watch you swim? It's totally wrong. But can I watch you draw? And they're like, yeah, that's great. And I watched her go from a blank page.
JD, I don't think she realized, though, that you meant you were going to watch her naked. So it was, we were all talking about it. It was a little creepy. I'm like, isn't that JD guy we were talking to earlier?
So he's the one who did that. Oh, okay. Now it's making sense.
You know how I knew it was him? He kept on the Whatnot shirt. Or the Outstanding shirt.
The Outstanding shirt.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, you're right, though. You're right. Any other situation, like if you're watching somebody with a sport or something like that, it would come off rather creepy uncle. Where in this case, it really is like you want to admire the work, and the only way to do that is to actually watch them, from beginning to the end of their craft. And it really is interesting because they're all different.
Well, yeah, and the speed is different. And I got, I think 90% of the artists there I got a sketch from. And to see, how, whether it's a pencil or a blue pencil or a marker or just straight to inks or even a rollerball pen, what these artists can do with their skills, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And I have from a Buzz painting, it took him, I'm not joking, 10 seconds to do this like 3-inch squared Batman, and it is awesome. And I'm like, if this was like a foot, like 10 times bigger, it would be amazing and worth $100. But it took him 10 seconds. He kind of just went, done. And I was like, wow, this Batman is awesome. And then, professionals or masters, Buzz is a master with that brush, to people who are very meticulous. I got a Catwoman sketch from a Comfort Love, and that girl can draw. And everyone always stops at my sketchbook at that page. But it took her, about 40 minutes. But it's highly detailed, and it's gorgeous. And, to see these different, the way they talk and the way everyone has their little quirks about how they act, every artist has a quirk about how they draw. And to see that and to have a sketchbook, as many of us do, and to kind of see how are they different and then to enjoy all of the differences. That's the whole thing. That's the great thing about it, is that everyone has differences, and that's the great. And they're all great. And I love it.
I got, which I'm going to scan and put on our website, I got a sketch from Steve Bryant, a Hawkman sketch. It was wonderful, the head of Hawkman. And he did this Joe Kubert homage style sketch of the head. But it was funny. I say homage. I'm very leery to even say that because it's very classic Steve Bryant. I'm really a big fan of his art. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to be scanning that and putting it on the site, along with the Batman as well that I got from I bought from Citizen Dave's table when he was over there. Uh-huh. He was displaying a number of sketches that he'd done, and he did this gorgeous Batman sketch that was over there. I think my biggest thing was I wish that you and I, Jim, could have stayed longer because we arrived Saturday afternoon. Yeah. And we had to leave early on Sunday. I didn't get to as many tables as I wanted to get to, and that would be my thing. Next year, for sure, I'm going to stay as long as I can both days.
Well,
we're going on Friday night next year.
I think we're going to be flying, so we can stay even later.
I'm not flying out there. That's crazy.
Well, then you can swing by, pick me up at the airport. And
Sure. Just let me know what time I'll be at the con. I'll be like, Jim's still at the airport waiting for me.
Keep getting my phone calling.
We'll all go over together.
Jim could ride with me. I told myself at the beginning of this, maybe I'll do this every couple of years at the end of Sunday, and with the smile my wife saw on my face coming back, and still today, I'll be there every year. Whether it's a burden or not financially, I will be there because it is worth every penny. It's worth saving $1 a day or $10 a day or whatever you have to save. It is worth every penny, and every fan should know that you can't pay enough money to hang out with June Bob Kim or Ryan Stegman or Andrew Charapar or whoever you think is the it person. They're there. Besides mega stars, quote unquote, they weren't there, but the people who are still staples in the comic industry were there. And how can you beat that? It's a personalized con where everyone was at the same level and enjoyed themselves and could talk, and it was fantastic. I'll beam about this for the next year. Until next year, I'm going to be happy.
That was the nice thing, though, the CGS shows, and I've got to say that since their very first one, and that's been a consistent compliment that I can give the guys, it's been a friend con. They geared this thing up to be a gathering of friends. So it really was, because it was so surrounded by people who were listeners of the show. And then what they did was, and that's a key, and it's something that I try to do with this show, and I got to give props to them because that's the reason why. It's them and the rest of the podcasting community that have spun out of their show that has kind of kept that going for me. It's, we're in this like non-competitive thing where, quote unquote, sure, we compete for listeners, but I would rather shout people out and we all, share and try to meet people that way than do this thing where none of us talk, we never chat, we all have separate it just doesn't, that type of stuff, it's no fun. This is fun for me. This is a hobby for me. So it's fun to be able to go to those type of things, to be able to talk to people about their podcasts and things that they're doing, to be able to shout their things out, and when somebody shoots me an email and does that, to be able to chat with listeners who are friends. Because that's what this is all about. This is all about a gathering of friends, and they set that tone. And that's been the consistent thing, and you feel that at the con.
It's a great feeling. And you brought up another great point about the podcasting. Not just the artists and comics, but I've heard you guys since the beginning or when you first posted on iTunes, and to hear your evolution. Not just artists, you guys are artists also. I feel, and that's why I'm a fan of podcasting. Is I've seen from episode 4 of CGS, your episode 1, and listen to the kind of stumbling or the, enunciating or the ums, or however that works for both of your podcasts, and seeing you where you are professionals, and you set a professional tone. And it's amazing to hear your evolution and to be a fan of you guys, because I'm a huge fan, as you guys saw my shirts, and I was happy just to meet you because your voices, just like their pencils, your voices are what I hear, and now to put a face to it and to have BS about football with Jim, and it's like, wow, yeah, it was only an hour, and, I beat him at bowling, but now...
Hold on, he soundly beat me at bowling. I won't deny that. I got my butt handed to me.
But now it's like, wow, I'm on a podcast with... If you guys were within driving distance, I would be your friend. I'd be like, can I buy you sandwiches? Can I buy you coffee? Can I, and it's just amazing. I'm giddy. You can tell in my voice that I'm a fan of podcasting, and that's brought me to understand comics better and to be a better fan.
Dude, he's gonna buy us stuff. Where do you live?
The check's in the mail.
No, it's honestly, I wish, it sounds trite to say that, but it's actually honestly very true. I do wish that we all lived closer together, because we have these forum conversations, we have email conversations and stuff like that, and we have a listener base of people that just listen, and they don't participate, and not that they have to, I don't mean it that way. I know we've got that base too. It would be nice to be able to more often put faces to names and things like that, because even after we run into people, if they've got forum names, their forum name is so ingrained into my head that we all somebody was actually joking with me, and I apologize. Oh, it was from the Fixers podcast. I'm drawing a blank right now, and I so totally apologize just because I'm trying to make sure I get in everything. But we were chatting about the fact that and this actually is very relevant to the fact that the names, I'm drawing a blank on the name, we all knew each other from forum names. And he said, we should all wear T-shirts with our avatars so we actually know who we are. And I was saying, that is so true, because I said, like the last CGS Super Show the last CGS show that we were at, we were sitting there with, 3 different podcasters, and it wasn't until afterwards you told me, Jim, who 2 of the people were, and I'm like, dude, that conversation would have been so totally different had I actually known who I was talking to. I didn't know. We had a great conversation, but I didn't know who I was sitting with.
That was a big thing, and the podcasting and listening to, the lives of you, Sean, Sean and Jim, you guys, and CGS crew put your lives out for everyone to hear. You may not go in depth, but you may mention, well, my wife this, and my sensei brother that, and I kind of have a glimpse into what's happening in your life. Same thing with CGS.
Could you imagine if we went in depth? Could you imagine we went in depth about our lives? Raging Bullets is now an 8-hour podcast. Like, God,
no,
man, it was bad enough when it was. I am totally kidding you. I was just laughing at the irony of it. I'm like, could you imagine if we did that? How funny that would be.
Oh.
God, that Raging Bullets. I remember back when it was only a 4-hour show.
And I was telling Jim, I could listen. I loved the format, and whoever else says it's too long, it's not long enough. I could listen to 8 hours of you guys chatting, because I kind of talk to you sometimes. It's like, wow, this is really weird. I'm talking to myself, but they're there kind of listening, because, it's just kind of weird. And I was talking to Jamie D and Brian's wife, and it's like, this is so weird. I kind of remember when you had your first child, and now your second child, and I don't even know you, but I know about your life. Yeah. And that kind of openness has been fantastic. For me, it's been great.
We started voicemails last week, and one of the things I'm hoping with that is it gives people more an immediate chance, I think, to get us messages and to get on the show and that type of thing. Because they're short little snippets, so it gives people a chance to kind of be able to get more involved as often as they want to. And I think to open up what you're talking about, just the dialogue more. Because we really had fun with that last week when we were recording. Yeah. So it's something that we're going to be using, as soon as we get them, we're going to be using them on those episodes for just that reason. Because I'm with you, JD. I like the interactivity. It's one of the reasons why the first place I go each week is the forum over any other way of communication. It's because it's not just like me responding. People can then respond to my response, and we can have discussions where we all agree. We can have discussions where we disagree. We can have discussions where we fall in the middle. Some of them get meaty. Some of them are quick. It doesn't matter, but it is friends. Like Jim, how many times have you and I ranted and raved with each other on the show where we've been firmly on opposite sides of the same issue, or even explaining the same thing in 2 different ways and arguing over that. But I like that kind of interaction with our friends who listen to the show. And that, I think, is one of the things, again, this CGS show, I wouldn't be podcasting if it wasn't for CGS. And if it wasn't for CGS, I wouldn't have met people like Ian Levinstein and Bruce Rosenberger and just, a whole bunch of people who were there.
And go one step further. If it wasn't for CGS, I wouldn't be reading comics right now.
Right.
Neither would I. It's all them. And I hadn't bought comics in 6 years, mainly because I didn't have a job and have money for it. But, I was like, well, I'm going to listen to this, my new iPod I spent $250 on. I'll listen to something. And comics were something that I was interested in. And before you know it, I bought Watchmen, and that's it. There it is. That's history. And I've read Watchmen 3 times, and I buy comics, and now I'm talking to you on a podcast. It's just crazy.
Well, I have the same experience then because of them when I go to the New York Con, when I go to the Chicago Con. Because, it's like Chicago Con, we're hanging out with the Around Comics guys, and there's a whole bunch of podcasters there that we're hanging out with, and listeners of the show, and things, who are friends. And they are genuinely, I am almost cautious to use the word listeners when I talk about, because it makes it sound like, you guys are more separate. It really is, the fun for me is recording these things, putting them out, and then seeing reactions afterwards, because that's the part where the interaction occurs. So that's the part where it's fun for me, because you and I could do this, Jim, on the phone without microphones,
Right.
and it wouldn't be. This is the part though, like being able to call you today, JD, was fun. We had Chad Burdette, unknown fanboy from the forums, in here. He always comes through the Cleveland area, and he'd stop by a few times, and then we just last time he was here, I said, why don't you come by and we'll do a little podcast recording here, and that's the type of stuff. That's where it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of thing, and being able to call you, that's why we normally carry our iRiver around. We go to conventions, and being that it was CGS's first convention, I didn't know I didn't know they were going to set up like a few extra tables for podcasters or things like. If I had known that, I would have chatted with them about, hey, do you guys mind if we set something up? And, we might have done a little something there and gotten more people on. But I kind of wanted to kind of feel out, like, what is the tone of their show as far as that goes? Is it, they want to keep it more focused on their podcast? But it was really nice of them. They had another podcast that was recording straight from there. And I saw Peter over there recording with them at one time. So, that was, to me, kind of a very neat thing that they opened all that up. And the Indie Spinner Rack guys, oh my gosh, and the Half Hour Wasted guys, that was really just a fun, just group to watch through this whole thing. Because when CGS was doing their recording, these guys were heavily involved in some funny bits that were on their anniversary recording, which I guess is going to be their 1 year. Every year now we're going to be getting that kind of special Super Show recording straight from the CGS Super Show. So I'm definitely going next year for sure. I've been to all of them. And only because I have so much fun.
It really is about the fun. My wife teases me, has been teasing me all week. When I told her that I was going to record with you guys, she was screaming as much as I was. And it's that friendship and that loyalty we have to each other that will make me spend another whatever it costs to go and see you again. I'm not going to be in Cleveland for, maybe never. So I may never see you in that context. But if we're all at one place and there's some kind of, hub that is Reading, Pennsylvania, we will be there, and I'll be there next year and for many years to come.
You know what? It's funny that you say that, because each convention for me that we go to, each one has its own little cast of friends that we go there and we see, and that's what makes it fun to keep going back to them. So, like, you're another friend now that when we go to Super Show, I'll be excited because that's when we'll get to see each other and hang out and chat and catch up on how the year's going and all that. That's the difference now. I don't just go to conventions now for just, to see the comic companies and what they're sharing, meet artists and things like that. That is a huge part of it, don't get me wrong. But there's equally important the social aspect of it and the friend aspect of it. It's not this geeky hobby where you're all separate from everybody now. It's a gathering where we can really have intelligent discussion and sometimes silly discussion or whatever about all of these things that we all love, and that's why it brought us to the table anyway. And it's really nice to be able to chat about these hobbies that before used to be kind of this outcast type of thing with people who have the same sensibilities and love for it. And that's what I think, it just energizes me. Going to these cons re-energizes me at a time where I usually kind of need it. I need that kind of like boost to say, all right, why am I still doing this kind of thing and all that? And it really is, you meet up with friends and you get excited, and we all, I think, recharge each other and remind each other why we followed this for so many years and why we continue to do it. And it's all, I think that's, to me, that's what comics are all about. JD, I was going to ask you, what are some books that you're reading right now that you're really enjoying? Because this is something I like to do whenever we meet people at cons. I like to get kind of your thoughts on our show on books that you're currently enjoying. So what's something you would recommend to somebody if they said, hey, I want to read some comics right now? What would you recommend as a couple of top picks of yours?
My top picks, the first one would be Queen and Country. I know it's not DC.
No, that's fine. But Greg Rucka. That's great. That's a great read.
Greg Rucka, that book is fantastic. If you like Alias, Femme Nikita, James Bond, if you're into that action and that turmoil people have with each other and what they do, whether it's bad or good or for Queen and Country, that's the book. Greg Rucka, he's awesome. I always have a good time reading it. I reread it. It's got a lot of staying power. It's very relevant. And, that's probably one of my top ones. My second one...
The only reason... Hold on, before you go to your second one. The only reason why I'm even laughing at all when you're talking is not because of anything. I totally 100% agree with you. I'm looking over at Jim and watching in his head him going, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to pick up another book.
Be quiet, man. Don't do
Greg
this to me.
Rucka good, but
Rucka's awesome. And then
buy a new book bad.
Queen of Country. I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't read that. Then you're like, yeah, Greg Rucka. I'm like, no, that's a weakness.
If JD didn't
awesome.
sell you on it, Chris Niesman from Around Comics, that's like the gospel to him. You see, the heavens. Like if you were to mention, right now, even though Chris, might or might not be listening to this segment, the heavens are opening up somewhere right now over Chicago. Sunlight's coming down. And Chris Niesman somewhere, he's like, well, how did it get sunny all of a sudden? Must be somebody talking about Queen and Country. It is. I've got some. I'll actually let you borrow some. It's a good read.
Just give me a little taste, huh?
Yeah,
First one's for free, and after that...
like a worm on a hook.
You really should get the definitive collection. In Stock Trades has it. They're on the first two right now. Volume 3 is coming out pretty soon. It's basically 3 trades in one little book. It's in great paper. It's got great printing. It feels good in your hand.
Outstanding. Dude, outstanding. Not only are you plugging, hey, let's plug the website as well. In Stock Trades has it. Great discounts. Like, oh.
It's just kind of like, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
Wait, and you know what the other thing is, too? Jim hasn't placed his order yet.
Yeah, I know. I was going to place my order tonight.
He's got to add it.
Well, guess what's getting added? Come on.
My second book would have to be Justice Society.
Ooh,
it is so good, that whole play on what if God were real and in front of you making your dreams come true. That whole Jeff Johns, that playing with that aspect of our society is just awesome. And seeing that every week on what he does to, what if blind people could see? What if people could walk again? Is that enough? Is what happened to you in your past for a reason and make you a better person? And playing with all those aspects of life, it's really been a roller coaster that I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
That's one of the nice things about that comic is I found, especially with this GOG storyline, is I found that there's so many different ways to connect with it and so many different ways to interpret the events in there. I'm talking about if you want to go beyond the surface story. It's really an interesting, fun exploration of, what would you do if, we all like ask whatever, whoever we believe in or whatever our religious beliefs are, and this kind of, I think, can kind of go with everybody. We all, I'm sure, at some point in time find ourselves asking for something. Well, what if that's something we ask for? And a lot of times we're going to ask for things that you just know aren't going to happen. I'm talking about like big things, big sweeping changes that just aren't going to happen. But what if one of them did? What if one of those things that you knew were so out there, you had your miracle? And I'm talking about miracle-worthy stuff. How would you react to that? What does that mean? How would that change you as a person and send you down a different path? Because a lot of times we are who we are because of the way that through whatever faith we have or things like that, we deal with the toughest situations and the toughest adversities. They kind of define who we are. The great thing about this story is what happens then if that adversity is taken away? What if you get that miracle where you no longer have to face that? And it's kind of almost the easy way out. How does that change you, and how does that change your loyalties to friends and things like that? And what does it mean when you react to this God? In the way, it's really a compelling story because I think we're going to see a whole bunch of different answers to that question throughout each of the characters in the JSA and because of who they are.
Well, not only that, is that we all know deep inside things like that don't last forever.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for that come to Jesus, issue where okay, everything's going to come back to normal, and how do you then live life knowing you've had a miracle happen? And that's really going to be the real good stuff, is when everyone is put back, back in their life again, knowing I can see, I have seen, I've slept without nightmares. I wasn't crazy, but now I can't sleep anymore. Now I can't see, and now I'm crazy again.
Well,
and having that.
In fairness, though, I think if Starman goes crazy again, he's not really going to know.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
He'll be one of those. I think ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't actually seem. Well, no. I mean, actually, I'll take the joke out of that now. He is not very happy to have his memory back.
No.
Because he's not happy about whatever it is that he has to do because of it.
Right.
So I think he was much happier the way that he was.
Well, he had an excuse. He had a way out. Mm-hmm. And you take that away, and it's going to be a rocky next couple of issues. It hasn't come to any kind of head yet, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the floodgates, for the levees to break, and for chaos to come into play.
Yeah, it is. I'm so glad to see the Golden Age characters being such a flagship title. And it's great to have, this and Justice League and things like that being top tier, top quality titles again. This is one, though, I've enjoyed this. Did you read, JD, the previous series, or was this current series your first exposure?
My first exposure. Actually, the last 12 issues in the annual have been my first exposure to this Justice Society. Okay. And I've loved it ever since. And how can you say bad to Alex Ross art?
Yeah.
Not only is Jeff Johns hitting home runs every issue, Alex Ross. Come on. Enough said.
I can't recommend enough. It's Jim may be happy. I'll get some revenge right here for you. I can't recommend enough, and this honestly is a great purchase for people who are like, if you're not getting enough of a JSA fix, and it's not just for you, JD. I'm just talking about listenership in general. The previous JSA series that came before this, anybody that's enjoying this run, you need to gradually go back and get, because it's all traded. The entire previous run. It's all. If you like this, it's more of this. And that's the only way to say it. It's the same type of big, compelling stories with strong characterizations, with just the great way that he manages to, no matter what size cast he's dealing with, he manages to give screen time to everybody somehow. I don't know how he does it, because he's pulling that off. Yeah, it's a great, great read. I can't recommend it enough. So it's one of those that it is all traded. So for people that are like saying it's kind of hard to dig up the back issues, I'm sure the back issues you can find as well. So you go either route if you like the singles. But it is nice that you can go get like the trades, and they are all available on InStockTrades.com.
No, it really is. I'm having a great time with it. And my last one, just to kind of round out in 3, is Trinity.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. It's the whole tarot aspect of it, and these 3 great beings symbolizing so much to everybody. And no matter where you come from, you have the strong, the epitome of a human, Superman, and you have that tenacity of Wonder Woman, and it is a perfect trinity. And it's working so well together. I think the storytelling is fantastic.
And I like the attention to these characters by the creative team as far as making them true to what you're reading in their solo titles. Because that's really important to me. Like, I want to feel like it's the same character. And boy, have they nailed these characters. Not just the Trinity, but everybody who's appearing in the book.
Yeah, it's been really, really great. And now, bringing in characters just like 52 did in Countdown, people that I never knew existed, gangbusters. Like, this guy seems so corny if you think about it, but what he's doing, the way they're using him, it's like, wow, yeah, gangbuster's kind of a silly name, but this is cool. This guy had a purpose. When he was around, he had a purpose. And he still has a purpose, and they're using him in a fantastic way.
Well, he's Hawkman's sidekick. That's really he fulfills that purpose quite well. I really am afraid for the Trinity, though, because with him in the book, it really has become that, to me, the second story now has been the one where all the focus, I think, is shifted to, because it's Hawkman and everything that he's doing right now, and it's...
and it's not even a joke. He's doing so great at giving everybody...
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him.
Hey, let the man wait. The man's speaking intelligently. Let him have his moment.
Well, I wasn't much of a Hawkman fan, but the more they're using him, I want to buy more Hawkman and figure out where he came from. And I think, yes, it's convoluted, but his history seems so rich and exciting, and I want to be a part of that now.
Well, Jim, as an admitted Hawkamaniac, which he has said on the show, he's an admitted Hawkamaniac. Remember, Jim, you said you're.
I've admitted it. I am a Hawkamaniac now. So let me tell you something, brother.
Is smiling from ear to ear on that one.
Yeah.
It actually, I do think though that is that and Jon Stewart and the whole JLA and just each of the characters that they are putting in this book. I think it would be easy for a different creative team to maybe get off on one of the characterizations. I think it's really a pat on the back that this creative team deserves credit for in paying so much attention to not just the source material throughout DC history, but the source material right now. Because there's a lot of great writers working on Trinity books. There's a lot of great writers. We got Dwayne McDuffie on JLA. Hawkman's and Jeff Johnson's JSA. We've got these wonderful writers, and Starlin's dealing with them now. Wonderful writers are really already working on these characters, and I do like that they pin down what these writers are doing with them, and it feels like this book fits.
It's been fantastic. I've been loving the ride ever. The weekly book format. I am a sucker. And I will buy it every time because I like, we all don't want to wait. We're creatures of satisfaction right now, and with a weekly book, we got it. And I know that no matter what happens, when I go to my LCS on Friday or on Thursday, I got a book waiting for me. Even if it's just one, I got one. And that in itself it's been great. Just having a weekly book for 3 years, and I haven't missed 1 week in 3 years, starting with Countdown to Infinite Crisis. And I haven't missed a book since then when it comes to the grand, to the grand universe that is DC. And I've been loving every second of it.
I'm with you. Amen. I'm totally with you on that. That is one of the, I'm ready for the next weekly after this. I think one weekly for me works really well. Because I like it that it's getting this polished. And I'm thrilled with Trinity that we're seeing a lot of people who Countdown wasn't their cup of tea, who are now with Trinity giving this a shot, where before they were just kind of like, you know what, I'm burnt out on the weekly and all that stuff. I'm seeing more and more forum posts from people that are saying, you know what, I changed my mind, I'm going to give this one a shot, and I'm really glad I did. And I'm glad to see more of those people voicing that, because I think there is a crowd of people who didn't like the last weekly series, who just were kind of like, I don't want to try another one, who are now getting an experience that they didn't get with Countdown for themselves. Because I loved Countdown, but I admit that it didn't, clearly didn't meet the needs of everybody. And this one, though, is, I can't imagine somebody reading this one and not, you got to really just not like the characters.
Yeah, for me, I loved 52. I enjoyed Countdown, but Trinity is just on a whole nother level. Trinity has surpassed 52 for me, and it's just, we've gushed and gushed, and I'm just going to keep reiterating the same stuff. So, but it's wow.
Yeah, and what and if they don't get you with the story, and get you with the universe, they get you with those triplicate covers. And even if you don't want the book to read, you got to have the covers and collect the huge artwork.
And we got the Jim Lee ones now? Is that what we're going through now, Jim Lee? Yes, it is. It's Jim Lee.
Yeah, and the first set, my favorite has been the one where they're over the American flag.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah, 11, 12, and 13. I got them right here in front of me.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, that is cool. I want to frame that, and I want, you know, the American flag behind them, because that's, you know, that the whole symbolism of red, white, and blue. Everything's in threes, and you know, it's awesome.
Jim, Jim, more and more, I'm agreeing with you in the sense that this should be a book when it's done of the collection of the covers that will, fold out, really nice, well designed book. Similar to what they do, because it's the big three characters. So I mean, what book would lend itself better to having its covers done than this particular series, with maybe some commentary from the creative team about the covers. You get each of the art teams who worked on the covers to chat about that particular cover design, how it came about. That stuff I would eat, because I want that too.
Yeah.
I like that commentary that goes along when they do those type of books. But I think this is a set of covers, I mean, you're going to get people who don't normally read comics that would pick that up. Somebody who's going to see the movies or whatever, who would grab that out of interest. You got the big three characters in wonderful, I mean, this is gorgeous art.
Now, I'm wondering how they're going to do the last two, because 52 isn't divisible by 3, or the last one, really, because, it's not divisible by 3.
Maybe if we're lucky, it'll be a four comics, huge poster. That would make my day.
Like a fold-out, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't do the math. I didn't do the math on it. I didn't even think about it.
Well, what I'm wondering, too, is, if this is working out as a collector of art, as we all are, why don't they intermix this with other comic books and other books in the universe? I would love a huge JSA, 3-cover miniseries, kind of thing, or Teen Titans. We all want bigger, more characters and bigger art.
They've done that. They've done that before, where they've done connected covers like this. So, I mean, that's been something throughout their history they have. Like, I've got a poster here that I'm waiting to get framed. I got the Starman one. It actually took 9 issues, I believe, of Starman. I have to take a look at it again. And what they did is it was Alex Ross art, and it was all 9 issues made a big cover. Gotham Underground did it.
Gotham Underground did it, yeah.
That whole mini-series, Gotham Underground, every cover, if you put them together, made one big, large image.
Oh, so, no way. I got now I got to buy them.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is something that they've done. But, I mean, it's the Gotham Underground series. It's Jim Calafiore artwork. And it's all the Batman rogues. And heroes, too.
There's some heroes there, too.
No, it actually has all of them. Batman, Robin, Nightwing, all of them are featured on it. Azrael was on it. Spoiler was on it. So they actually had, through the whole Bat universe, everybody in that one. So, it was the Gotham Underground series. That whole mini-series, if you put all the covers together, made one big, huge image, which is very cool.
Well, that's next to my list now.
There you go. Well, JD, I want to thank you very much for joining us today, because I wanted to chat Super Show, but I thought it would be a lot more fun to chat Super Show with somebody we're there with. Because I wish now, going back, because we ran into you, we ran into a couple other friends there, I wish that I had the iRiver, and I had thought to do that. I was like, I didn't know if it was appropriate to do it there, being totally honest, because I wanted to see, this being CGS's first con, I didn't want to be like, wandered around with the iRiver and all that stuff. I'm like, if they wanted to keep it more focused on them. But I should have known better, knowing those guys, they're usually so open to that kind of stuff anyway. And when I saw the other podcasting over there, I'm like, geez, we should have brought our equipment. But it was really just such a nice chance to meet you. And I want to shout out everybody there. I was actually early on in the discussion, I was kind of leery to start throwing out names of artists and friends we ran into, because I knew I was going to do just what I probably did. I forgot a number of people that we ran into, so I want to apologize in advance for that. But that everybody that we met there, every conversation we had, every hello, things like that. Simon McDonald was another person that we ran into, and I know I'm forgetting people, but thank you all so much for coming up and saying hello. This was totally the whole point of this convention for me. And thank you, JD, for taking some time out of your day today to chat with us, because it's always fun to hear somebody else's thoughts on their comics.
Anytime, guys, and I do want to, I'll reiterate, thank you, too, for all your hours and hours and hours of entertainment for me. I love every bit of it. Don't stop, and thanks to CGS for for being the hub, starting it for everybody. And so thanks, guys, and I hope and wish I could talk to you soon again for more things.
All right, pal.
Mothman.
I want to once again thank all of you for joining us this week for this special episode. This, like I said, is a little bit more casual for us, but I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank our sponsors, InStockTrades.com and DCBService.com. Definitely check out their websites and get that savings for yourself. We love them, and they are absolutely wonderful to us. And couple weeks now, we're going to be doing Seven Soldiers Volume 3, and they are offering an amazing discount, 47% off on that particular trade volume. If you don't have it, now's the time to grab it. I've been reading it this week again to get in prep for that episode, so I'm really excited, along with a bunch of other stuff that we're going to be chatting about next week. But Seven Soldiers is either going to be in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and we'll see how our content works on our next episode, so I'll announce it for sure on our next show. But our next show is going to be all new content. We're going to be chatting about the DC Decisions the release that just came out. We're going to be chatting more about some of the Final Crisis tie-ins, such as the Superman Beyond 3D, Legion of Three Worlds, some conversation about Trinity, and we're going to be doing another Speeding Bullets segment, because there's a whole bunch of comics that I've been reading lately that I really want to quickly shout out, because it's kind of a nice chance these past couple weeks for me to talk about a lot of books that we haven't really gotten a chance to spotlight on the show, and so that's the whole point of that segment. And I know Jim said he was going to bring some Speeding Bullets as well. So we're going to be chatting about that next week on episode 134. Like I said at the beginning, it'll be out like Monday or Tuesday. Please check the forum and the website for more details. We'll take a look at when Jim and I record. I think we're going to record on Sunday, which means I'll need either a day or two to edit it and get it out to you. So it's going to be early next week. So we'll be back in a little less than a week with that new recording. I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate your patience with it. This one is definitely a lot more casual than usual, but I thought that the content on here was wonderful. I want to thank Chad Burdette and JD Alvarez again for this episode. It was a lot of fun recording with those guys. I want to thank everybody that we met at the CGS Super Show, from creators to listeners to friends, which, I mean, that's basically what everybody was there. It was just a big gathering of friends, and that's been my con experience lately. It's been wonderful to run into so many people that have just become friends through the internet. There's so much negative talk out there about the internet, and some of it's definitely warranted. There's a lot of people who hide behind the internet and aren't themselves and aren't real people when they're on there. But I think there's a lot more now that are being real, and we're meeting those people at cons and having a good time with them, and we're all comic fans, and we're out there just to enjoy ourselves. So I do think the comic community right now is kind of bonding together, and we're seeing more and more people who are making the internet into a positive, where we're using this to kind of have this wonderful fandom community. So I really am glad that we had an opportunity to talk about this. There's a blooper reel segment that's coming right after this, and this blooper reel segment is stuff that Jim and I recorded on the way out to Pennsylvania. This is for people who just want to kind of have a good time with this particular thing. It's not comic talk at all. I don't think I'm pretty sure we didn't talk about comic. We had this, amazingly, if anything could possibly go wrong, it would, drive to Pennsylvania. And I love the drive to Pennsylvania. It's actually beautiful, but you're going to hear us going through a rather horrible drive on the way there, because the weather just was awful. And it seemed like the weather being awful led to a whole bunch of other stuff along the way. So it leads to some really funny moments, and I hope you guys will enjoy this one. It's I didn't know where I was going to put this. I was actually thinking I was going to scrap this content, and this is obviously the show to put it on, because we have the time to throw it on this episode. So enjoy this, and like I said, if you want to jump off at this point, it's a good time to do it, and we will see you next week on Monday or Tuesday. Thanks again.
Bye.
So anyway, Jim, I had one of the experiences last night where, you get excited because you're going to do something fun, and you're going to visit friends, things like that. So I know, we have listeners that are going to be here. The CGS guys are always great to see. There's fellow podcasting friends that are going to be here, and just new people that we're going to meet, artists, and, whatever. The CGS shows are always fun to go and visit. Well, so we wanted to stop off and have some Bob Evans, because I wanted to get some coffee and just kind of wake up again, because we were both kind of, our heads were dropping and things like that, which is really bad when you're in the fog. So anyway, we go to stop off at Bob Evans. I walked in, and immediately it smelled like we're at a comic convention. Because, you get that smell, when we've all been standing around in lines all day long and people are sweaty, and it smells like you're inside an old sweat sock. But that's the best word for it. You're actually in the sweat sock. Not like you're smelling it from the outside. You're actually in there and you're stuck. Which is not a good smell when you walk into a restaurant. So, I'm like, okay, somebody in this place has really bad BO. So we sat down at our table, and the smell was gone. I didn't smell it at the table. I realized it was the restroom in there. Oh my gosh, that's one of the most awful smelling restrooms I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, it kind of smelled like cat urine. Yeah, it really had that. I walked in, I was like, oh, this is not good. Now, when I've gone hunting and whatnot, I've taken I've finished percolating in the woods, dug a little hole in the ground, done my business, buried it back up. That was cleaner than that Bob Evans restaurant.
And just for clarification, I've got about 10 holes in my backyard from Jim doing that at my house, because he's found that he prefers it. As we continue our bizarre travels, our bizarre 7-hour trip, that's probably going to be a 12-hour trip now. Jim and I had to stop off at a restaurant because you were once again percolating, and I was getting really worried about you because, Jim, you were in there for like what seemed like 2 hours. It was probably like 30 minutes. And there was a little boy that came out screaming with his dad. Daddy, I'm scared. The plumbing was shaking. And, I mean, really, we all felt a rumble out there. And they're like, what's going on? Is it an earthquake? And I said, no, my buddy's just in there.
I'm gonna try not to be so gross. Okay. But I tell you, dude, man, I got hit bad right there. And I don't know what it was, if it was... I'd like to think it wasn't the breakfast because I love Bob Evans, but there's something just crawled up inside me and died because there was pain going on, and it was multiple waves of pain, and just when I think everything was done, they'd go, whoa, remember me, and fire 2, fire 3. It was multiple just barrages of nastiness. And first thing I did was when I got out, I looked at the little map saying, okay, when's the next rest area, just in case I don't make it, in case I need to stop again, because I'm still questionable, because I still have a little bit of a tummy issue going on here where there's a little discomfort. But the next one's in 35 miles, I think, if I read the map correctly. If I didn't, we may be in trouble.
It was funny. If any of you that have ever been to arcades and you've seen those claw games that they have in there, you know that if you want to win a prize and there's a certain strategy you develop, you try something a couple of times to see what prizes are loose enough that you can actually pull them. Because they pack them in there in such a way that they're, crisscrossed and you can't get them loose. Well, I'll tell you how long he was in there. I won 2 prizes and I was going on my 3rd. See, the first prize I won, they had this Justice League Superman ball that was in there. I'm like, oh, I gotta have that, right? So I got that. And then I saw this rat that was loose. Now, it's not just any rat. This is our new mascot. It's Ragey the Bulleteer Rat. So Ragey is now going to be our road trip mascot as we go places. I'll put pictures of Ragey on the website because now we have an official Raging Bullets mascot, which is Ragey the Bulleteer Rat. I was trying to win a second ball, though, so that way, I always tell you, Jim, grow a set. I was going to give you one.
Yeah, thanks a lot, pal. I appreciate it. Talk about kicking a man when he's down. Yeah, okay.
Sometimes in life, you pass by when you're driving an undescribable stank, and you don't know what it is. We're in the middle of that right now, and it's not going away. No. What is that? Because, there's nothing like, sometimes you see a plant or something like that would give off that sort of odor. I see homes.
Dude, man, this is sewage smell.
Yeah.
Maybe fertilizer?
People live here.
Maybe, but there's not even fields that would have fertilizer. I don't know what the hell is making this scent. Ragey the Bulleteer Rat didn't do that, so I don't know, dude, man.
Yeah. It's really disturbing me. Because I'm smelling this odor, and it just... Wait, did you realize these poor people here that live here, any of these people that live here, if they sit on their back porch, this is their ambiance.
I think you would get used to it after a little while, that you wouldn't even notice it.
May life never stinks so bad that I get used to this. Jim, we're in the middle of driving along, and in front of us, Jim, I'm having a Smokey and the Bandit moment. I've learned everything that I've learned about driving from Smokey and the Bandit, and in front of us, it's clearly the snowman. Jim, so do you want to report on what you're seeing?
Okay, well, we got a box truck towing it.
We're boxed in at the
Yeah, we're boxed in right now, which is wonderful, going down the winding roads of the PA Turnpike, going up and down a damn mountain.
With me digging for an eye river?
Yeah, Sean's digging for his eye river. He's got one hand on the wheel. He's sitting there chewing the BSing, and we got...
Hey, dude, I'm dedicated to podcasting.
I don't know what the heck this is. Actually,
I want to stay close enough that we can report on this.
I think what it is it's a truck towing. It's a box car which has a car inside it, I think.
It's so going to hit something.
Yeah. and this thing is bobbing and weaving on the road. It keeps going close to the one edge and to the other edge, to the other edge.
Enough so we can report on it, though. If there's a collision, Jim, we are going to report on it live.
Yeah, we're driving past a lot of other, it looks like racing trucks or towing trucks or competition pickup trucks is what I'm gathering.
Right. But
so,
Jim, we're driving past them because we're like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, this is our snowman.
All right, here we go, Jim. Here we go. This is our moment to make our move.
Okay, we are going to make the move on the guy.
All right,
here we go.
Do you feel your life is like at risk right now?
No.
Oh, look at that close! Wow!
Don't feel too threatened there. Yeah, but as we're doing this, I'm falling asleep here. So my head's doing a bobbing and waving, just like that dude's car. We got the...
You're like a boxer.
Yeah. I don't know if Sean's comments are going through, but I'm bobbing and weaving like a boxer. We got Reggie sitting here just riding shotgun.
Reggie, the Bulleteer Rat.
Reggie, the Bulleteer Rat. Reggie, the big R, whatever you want to call it. He and I was cool.
He's in the green and orange outfit. The lime green and orange outfit, which only he can pull off.
True. If any one of us wore it, Reggie, though, he makes it look good.
I honestly don't know how much you and I are going to be able to air of this. We'll try to keep this as clean as possible so we can actually use some of this. But, dude... Ew.
The Sidling Hill rest stop on the PA Turnpike is the most god-awful place I have ever been in my life. Now, as a general rule, I have a pretty strong stomach. I have a pretty, I can put up with some nasty stuff. Somebody.
Somebody will be clean again.
Yeah. Sean and I both walked out of this and we wanted to take a shower after using that bathroom.
Yes. Not together.
No, not together. But dude, it was somebody relieved themselves on the floor, seat, walls of one of the stalls. And it wasn't the liquid variety. So that smell permeated throughout the entire bathroom. Now here's the thing. Sean and I had to go so bad, we stayed and used the cleanest stalls we could find. Oh my God. And then after it, my stall door did not have a lock on it.
That's funny. That's actually funny.
So every couple of seconds, someone tried to open it, and I had to reach over and shut it. So I'd be periodically, and occasionally a person would say, "Hey, sorry, man." I move on. The one dude, sometimes with the stall, you can kind of get a glimpse of seeing somebody, on the outside. I think it was the same guy twice, because there's two people with the exact same color green shirt went around, then went around again and did it again. So I'm thinking the guy decided to mess with me, and if he would have done it a third time, I would have gotten pissed.
The first time would have been enough for me.
The first time could be an accident. That second time, I'm thinking he did it on purpose.
Yeah, but the first time I'm still not happy about it.
Well, wasn't too pleased, but I was understanding.
There's nothing to be understanding of at this rest stop. It was horrible. You can't put a positive spin on this. This was awful. Yeah, ew.
I'm not trying to put a positive spin on it. I'm just saying why I'm not going to, I wasn't completely pissed off at that guy because I wasn't 100% certain, but the people, dude, that was just the nastiest.
Dude, there's no way they're not all in on it. I'm not a paranoid person by nature. Everybody in that place was in on our experience. You have the 9/11 conspiracy. You have the JFK conspiracies. We have the bathroom conspiracy. Yes. What's the name of that place again that we went to?
It was the Sidling Hill rest stop.
Yes. Do yourself a favor. Avoid it at all costs. You will be a changed person. I will never be the same after this experience. I'm scarred for life. Jim, just to carry on our travel log, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel more clean now. It's currently pouring rain, and we were out in it And I can't tell you the benefit of natural rainwater when you've been through something so horrifying as we have.
Oh, definitely, dude. Feeling a little bit better. Went to a clean rest stop, the next one up. I didn't catch the name of it, but yeah, we're just walking slowly in the rain. Everybody else around us was running to their cars, and we're walking slowly because we just, and Sean and I both looked at each other. We're like, yeah, starting to feel a little bit clean now. We had like a haze of filth around us. I think you're on your like fourth or fifth piece of gum by now, just because you gotta get something to get the taste out of your mouth or whatnot.
Dude, I'm chewing gum with my ears. I'm actually putting 2 sticks of gum behind my ears, and I will periodically push on my ears just so I get that peppermint smell all over me.
Okay, that's a different way of doing it. I was wondering why I was smelling the gum so prominently. Well, I guess now I have my answer.
I've been to PA many times. I love PA, so I'm not anti-PA at all. It's gorgeous scenery, things like that. When we went to the Finger Lakes in New York, we drove through here. I've been to Pittsburgh. I've been to Reading many times before to visit the CGS guys. It's a wonderful place. I've got no it's just this particular trip for some reason. I don't know. It seems like everything that could possibly go wrong along the way has gone wrong.
And anything that could possibly smell bad is smelling bad.
Yes.
This is just, I tell you, next time we come out here, I'm honestly going to look at, see if there's an airport in Reading or whatnot. I don't know. But I'm not doing this drive again.
Dude, you're not doing this drive anyway, you're just sitting there.
Right, and that's how painful it is for me. I'm just sitting here doing nothing. And I'm just like, wow, dude. Yeah, wow.
See, I'll do the drive again. I'm convinced that if you go on the airplane and I drive, that a whole bunch of weird stuff is going to happen to you. And I'll find out about it after the fact, and I'll have a nice, pleasant, sunny drive.
Well, I can pretty much guarantee that's going to happen. If you ever go here without me, it's going to be nice and calm and sunny and shiny, and...
Dude, I've gone here without you multiple times, and I've never had such a horrifying experience driving out here. It's always been nice, pleasant, wonderful. I drove out here in a blizzard. Dude, this was worse than driving out here in a blizzard.
I can understand that. I believe that. You know what?
Wait, just to tell you how bad it was, this has totally changed the whole tone of what we do on the show. Because normally on Raging Bullets, rather than basically bashing a rest stop and saying that nobody should ever go to that rest stop, we would be doing the opposite. We would be recommending rest stops.
Yeah, we're Mr. Accentuate the positive. Right. There is none. There is no good.
No.
It was pure evil. It was pure death, destruction, mayhem, and chaos.
This is truly the final crisis.
You know what? I can't even sing the song. I can't even sing the song. You set me up. I can't even sing it.
It's the final crisis. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, see, I couldn't sing it, man. That's just how defeated I am right now.
This shows you how clean I'm feeling, though. I'm starting to feel more upbeat again now. Like, I want to read a comic book. Like, right now, while I'm driving.
No? It's still torrential rains, low visibility, and no.
Dude, we can't see anyway. What does it matter?
It's kind of hard to argue with logic like that. So you're going to go with a smile.
Jim and I are just leaving the works after the CGS Super Show, day 1. And I got to tell you, we arrived in the afternoon, as we mentioned. You'll hear at the end of this episode a little blooper reel about our rather crazy journey to get here. And it's better at the end of the show, during the show closing, because that way, if you're not interested in hearing all that, then you don't have to listen to it. But I got to say, this is a 2-day convention. We arrived on Saturday in the afternoon just because of our own little journey to get here. But I had
5.1 miles, then turn right.
Jim? No convention experience would be complete without one of your traditional bedtime stories, because in many ways you are just the master storyteller of our podcast. So Jim, can you please tell us a story?
Once upon a time, there was 2 podcasters from Cleveland who went to Reading, PA. They drove through a torrential rains and dealt with the most foulest of excursions. But in the end...
What's an excursion?
Excursion is excursion, but I'm too tired to actually...
Is excursion.
It's whatever. I'm too tired.
This is a very good story.
They went through the worst of events.
What's the names?
But ended up. The names they.
Did they have a dog?
No, but they did have Reggie the Bulleteer rat.
Okay.
And.
Is he friendly? Are there pictures?
There are no pictures, but there are.
This is a very good book.
I hate you.
Fairy tales.
I really hate you.
I don't know. You used to tell much better stories when you were younger. Jim?
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Jim?
Yes.
Before you go to sleep, can you sing us a lullaby?
Lullaby and good night, and don't bother me again. Let me sleep, or I will bash you in the head. I brought the mace, and I'm not afraid to use it, 'cause eventually you'll have to sleep, and I will bludgeon you in the head repeatedly. And you know what? No court would convict me.
Yes, they would, because it's premeditated. And I have recorded proof.
Temporary insanity.
Jim, what excites you the most about the trip back home tomorrow?
Well, hopefully.
You know we're going to stop by that rest stop.
Actually, our favorite rest stop is on the other side of the freeway. So I'm thinking,
There's
hoping.
gotta be a version on this side.
I'm hoping there's not a version on this side of that we can have clean sailing and, well, not sailing, but driving. And, get home without incident.
Good night, Jim.
Good night.
Jim, what a difference a day makes. It's funny, I've always enjoyed driving out here because it's such a beautiful countryside. You get to see lots of trees, hills, mountains, all that fun stuff. Everything just looks beautiful on the way out here. Normally, yesterday we had a nightmare driving out here. Today, not a cloud in the sky. It's bright and sunny. Everything's green. You're asleep.
Yeah, it's nice and relaxing, and I'm not sitting there going, oh my god, we're going to die doing the rosary or any of that stuff. So it's nice and easy, just relaxing, chilling it out. It's a good way to end the con.
Dude, it's been so nice and calm and pleasant. We've both been taking naps on and off while we've been driving. So that's been one of the nicest things. And we both took naps at the same time, which is always interesting when you're driving.
Hey, I was asleep, so I don't care. As long as you fall asleep while I'm asleep, I won't be mad, because I won't see you asleep. See, if you fall asleep when I'm awake, then I'll be smacking you going, wake up, you know.
You're a strange dude.